Chapter 1389, Driven Mad. 1389 Driven Mad. Ling Han involuntarily tensed up. Then, a feeling of exasperation swept through him. This was clearly the human skin old man. Although Ling Han had fled as quickly as he clearly couldn't outrun someone who had already grasped the regulations of space. The old man had arrived not long after him. The old man wore a blank expression as he stared at the heavenly origin Dao fruit. It was as if he were trying to recall some memories, yet couldn't recall them for the life of him. This was understandable. He didn't even have a brain, so how the fuck could he recall anything? The old man suddenly strode forward after staring at the heavenly origin Dao fruit for a moment. He reached over and was just about to touch the heavenly origin Dao fruit. Not good. Ling Han hurriedly shot back in retreat. This Saint King Great Herb was protected by a supreme killing formation that could kill even Saint Kings. If he were swept up in its attacks, he would definitely be blasted into smithereens in an instant. Boom! The killing formation was triggered, and sure enough, it directed its devastating attacks at the human skin old man. Hundreds of millions of light beams burst forth, each of them possessing the full power of a great saint. With so many of them attacking in unison, they indeed possessed the might to kill even Saint Kings. Unless one had reached the pinnacle level of the Saint King, it would be simply impossible for them to withstand the might of this formidable attack. Pong, 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 pong. Beams of light exploded wildly one after another. Xiao. A figure was sent flying back, and it lightly landed on the ground, as delicately as a butterfly. It was a sheet of human skin. The might of the killing formation dissipated, returning to the calm from before. Who? As if it had inhaled a breath of air, the human skin rapidly expanded again, quickly regaining its human form. The old man reappeared, his expression still blank. It was as if he didn't know what had just occurred. Ling Han's face twitched. That's a supreme killing formation, one that can kill even Saint Kings. Yet, this old man had merely been sent flying back, and he's completely unscathed? If this old man were at the Genesis tier, then he had definitely reached the pinnacle level of the pinnacle level. In fact, it was possible that he was even stronger than the Genesis tier. Severing mundane tier. Where's my dog? Have you seen my dog? The old man asked Ling Han. Fine, he's at it again. Ling Han hurriedly shook his head before walking toward the passageway that led to the 6th level. Right now, he only had one aim in mind, that was to harvest everything of value in the 9th level of the mystery realm. He would then say goodbye to this place forever. The examination on the 6th level finally tested him on refining pills. A pill recipe floated down before him. However, he was only allowed to fail 10 times. If he failed all 10 times, he would be immediately booted out of the mystery realm. On the contrary, the fewer times he failed, and the less time he spent, the better his result would be. Ling Han grabbed the pill recipe and took a glance at it. He discovered that this was only a level 5 alchemical pill. It wouldn't be too difficult to refine. However, this was a pill recipe that he had never seen before. With his prowess as the Alchemy Emperor, he would only fail a maximum of 2 to 3 times when refining such a low-level alchemical pill, even if it was completely new to him. However, Ling Han didn't hastily begin to refine the alchemical pill straight away. Instead, he mulled over the unique qualities of all the medicinal ingredients that were required for this alchemical pill. Right now, he had already reached the stage of great accomplishment when it came to identifying medicinal ingredients and recalling their unique properties. These medicinal ingredients intertwined in his mind, their qualities and clashes all playing out before him. This allowed him to understand how these medicinal ingredients work together or against each other. A few hours passed, and he finally reopened his eyes. Although he had never attempted to refine this pill before, he was confident that he could succeed in one try. Not only that, but he was confident that he could refine this pill to perfection. This was because he had a comprehensive understanding of all the medicinal ingredients that were required for this pill. He had already simulated the refinement process of this pill in his mind. He retrieved his cauldron and started to refine the alchemical pill. Sure enough, he was able to succeed in one go. Not only did he manage to reach a state of perfection and concoct 10 pills, but each pill had also reached their optimal condition, with not a shred of their essence going to waste. However, even with such a result, he was only given an extra 9 days' time. Among the pill recipes that he received as a reward, the highest level pill recipe was also only level 19. It was clear that his alchemical pills still hadn't been perfect enough. As such, he hadn't received the most valuable reward. Ling Han wasn't disappointed by this. After all, he had only spent half a day familiarizing himself with the pill recipe. He had never seen this pill recipe before, and there was simply nothing more he could do about this. The stone room disappeared, and what appeared before him was the 6th level. Gold and silver light dazzled his eyes. This was a metallic world, with golden mountains and silver mountains stretching as far as the eye could see. If a mortal human were to come here, they would definitely go wild with excitement. In fact, even Ling Han was delighted by this sight. This was because it was extremely likely that he could find high-level godly metal in this place. "Where's my dog? Have you seen my dog?" This was already a familiar voice and a familiar question. The human skin old man was like a piece of chewing gum that was stuck to the bottom of Ling Han's shoe. He appeared beside Ling Han once again. "Fuck, is there any end to this? Why have you set your eyes on me?" Ling Han was completely speechless. He was being followed by this sheet of human skin, which was also incredibly powerful. Even though he was extremely daring, he still couldn't help but feel an icy chill in his heart. In fact, he even felt the urge to absorb this sheet of human skin into the Black Tower. However, he couldn't guarantee that this would succeed. If he failed, and the old man became hostile toward him, then he would have really gotten himself into a pinch. Thus, he decided to leave the old man alone. In any case, the old man was only nagging him, nothing more. "No," Ling Han replied. He then rushed forward and started to harvest the godly medicines. "There's a familiar smell on your body," the old man said again. He was following Ling Han like a shadow. As they advanced, the old man would occasionally become confused and wear a blank expression. However, whenever he came to his senses from such a state, he would relentlessly repeat his question and ask about his dog. He would then say that there was a familiar smell on Ling Han's body. Like a child playing house, he would delight himself in repeating these questions again and again. Ling Han felt mentally fatigued. Regardless of how patient he was, he still felt like he was going to be driven mad after being asked the same question thousands upon thousands of times. However, this wasn't without its benefits. With this old man beside him, the demonic beasts of this level were all scared **** when he neared them. This allowed Ling Han to easily pluck the godly medicines. However, the old man also had a habit of plucking high-level godly medicines whenever he saw them. Not only that, but he was also crude in the way he plucked them. In any case, he would eat these godly medicines straight away. This rendered Ling Han speechless. On their journey through the 6th level, the most valuable godly medicine that he had obtained was only a level 10 godly medicine. Those that were above this level had all been eaten by the old man. He couldn't snatch these godly medicines from the old man, nor did he dare to. Although the old man looked easy to deal with right now, being confused and all, it wasn't like Ling Han hadn't seen him killing the heavenly body tier elites before. He hadn't blinked as he killed them. When Ling Han finished exploring this level, he went to the palace that lay at its very end. Midnight Heart Palace. Ling Han was delighted to find that these 3 words hadn't gone dim yet. However, when he tried to achieve resonance with the power that lay within them, he discovered that he was completely unable to do so. The old man didn't press Ling Han to hurry up, and he also sat down beside him. An uncanny sight appeared. The 3 words were aroused, yet their mystical power flowed into the body of the old man. However, no transformation occurred. This was only natural. The old man was far too powerful, so to him, this measly power was simply like a drop of water in a vast ocean. As such, he naturally didn't undergo any transformation. What a waste. Ling Han almost hammered the ground in exasperation. "You're already so powerful. So what's the point of competing with me for this mystical power? Where's my dog? Have you seen my dog? After absorbing the mystical power, the old man immediately started to repeat this question again. Ling Han was too tired to even feel angry. In fact, even he had become a little curious now. What breed of dog had the old man lost? After all, it was actually special enough for this old man to remember, even after his death. The heavenly origin Tao fruit appeared again. It was still the same kind of fruit, yet it was a little different again. The old man was fearless as he charged over once more. He was ruthlessly attacked by the killing formation, yet he was pushed out of it completely unscathed. After lying on the ground for a moment, he started to ask about his dog again. Ling Han was driven so crazy that he genuinely felt like killing someone. Can't you say anything else? The examination for the 6th level tested him on reconstructing medicinal ingredients. To Ling Han, such a task was incredibly simple. In fact, he wouldn't be afraid even if there were derived medicinal ingredients. Upon completing this examination, he successfully extended his stay in the Medicine King's cave for another 10 days. In addition to this, he also received 20 new pill recipes. Chapter 1390, the 9th level. 1390, the 9th level. Ling Han entered the 7th level, and sure enough, the human skin old man didn't disappoint him, appearing once again. He wore an earnest expression as he asked for the whereabouts of his dog again. Ling Han pointed into the distance and said, "I think I saw your dog there." The old man immediately took a single stride and disappeared into the distance. Ling Han wasn't worried that the old man would become mad upon not finding his dog. After all, it wouldn't be long before he lost all of his memory again. This was only normal. He didn't have a brain, so how could he remember past events? In any case, the old man was only living on as a sheet of human skin because he was far too powerful. However, he could only keep his memories for 30 minutes at most. When this time passed, his memory would expire too. This would then repeat itself over and over again. When the old man found Ling Han again, he would have definitely forgotten Ling Han's lie already. In any case, the 7th level appeared extremely normal. There were blue mountains and limpid waters, and everything appeared tranquil and serene. In fact, it appeared a little too tranquil and serene. There was no roaring of beasts, and there was no screeching of birds. The buzz and chatter of insects couldn't be heard, either. Ling Han continued to stroll through the 7th level. Whoosh! A branch suddenly whipped toward him, the leaves on the branch opening up like mouths. Inside these mouths were rows of pointy spikes, much like the teeth of some predator. This was a man-eating tree. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Several more branches whipped toward Ling Han, trying to entangle and trap him. They could then use their razor-sharp teeth to tear through his body and suck in his flesh and blood. Ling Han couldn't help but chuckle and said, "Go ahead and try." He stood there unmoving, allowing the branches to tightly wrap around his body. Countless leaves bit at him. However, what kind of physique did he possess? Not only were the spikes unable to penetrate his skin, but they were even shattered as a result. You've chosen the wrong target. The lightning divine pattern on Ling Han's left hand lit up. Crackle. An arc of brilliant white lightning that had a slight blue tinge to it immediately shot out. Pa, 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 pa. The branches of the man-eating tree were instantly blown into bits. The power of lightning was innately transcendent above the 5 elements of the world. Moreover, the lightning that Ling Han had unleashed possessed the might of heavenly tribulation and was far more powerful than ordinary lightning. After unleashing several bolts of lightning, the man-eating tree was obliterated until there was only a stub of the tree trunk remaining. Ling Han sliced the tree trunk apart and retrieved a heart-like orb from within. This was the heart of a tree, and this was where the essence of a man-eating tree was contained. It was incredibly nutritious. He was already at the heavenly body tier, so such tree hearts could barely provide him with any more growth. However, the people in the Black Tower would find this extremely useful, especially his disciples. After all, Ding Ping and Zhiyao still hadn't reached the Sun Moon tier. In any case, Feng Piyun and Murongqing were also in desperate need of such nutritious items. So, the more of these tree hearts he could obtain, the better. Ling Han continued to explore the 7th level, and he obtained a large amount of tree hearts as he did so. However, he wasn't successful each and every time. There was a time that he came across a man-eating tree that was at the Eternal River tier. This tree had been in hibernation, and he had immediately turned around to leave upon noticing it. If he provoked this tree, he would definitely be reduced to fertilizer, unless he immediately escaped into the Black Tower. Half a day passed, and the human skin old man finally returned. As before, his first question was about his dog. However, Ling Han had already discovered the method to deal with him. He randomly pointed in some direction again, sending the old man on a merry trip into the distance. He explored the 7th level for 3 days before going to the palace that lay at its very end. Abundance Sea Palace. These 3 words were still dazzling and filled with power. Xiao. The human skin old man silently appeared again. Your dog is over there. Ling Han was afraid that the old man would absorb the power of the words again, so he immediately gave his answer before the old man could even question him. At the same time, he randomly pointed into the distance. The old man was slightly dazed. This person was answering his question before he had even asked it. He didn't reply, and immediately strode away in the direction that Ling Han was pointing in. Meanwhile, Ling Han sat down and tried to achieve resonance with the 3 words. 3 days passed, and a shudder suddenly traveled through his body. A burst of mystical power started to funnel into his body, causing his cultivation to elevate explosively. Success. This was very strange. Some words he could achieve resonance with immediately, while with other words he could do so after some time. However, there were also some that he couldn't achieve resonance with no matter how hard he tried. Peak stage of the low extreme. He would spend some time stabilizing and reinforcing his cultivation after he left this mystery realm. He would then return to the joint peace planet to break through to the medium extreme. There was already no need to guess, and he was certain that the great herb in the abundant sea palace was the heavenly origin Dao fruit. The old man naturally came to challenge the killing formation again, displaying the true meaning of a freakish defense. The 7th level examined his pill refinement skills again. This time, however, he was provided with a level 7 pill recipe. Ling Han spent a long time to fully digest this pill recipe, although he eventually succeeded in one try again. Also reaching a level of perfection, he only won 4 more days of time. He was also rewarded with far fewer pill recipes than before, the pill recipes only going from level 1 to level 8. Right now, Ling Han was filled with curiosity. He was about to enter the 8th level, the level where no one had ever been able to reach the palace that lay at its end before. The stone room collapsed, and what appeared before Ling Han was a misty and unclear world. He was struck by a headache immediately upon entering this world. In fact, there was even blood beginning to flow out from his nose. There's poison. The atmosphere of the 8th level was suffused with poison. No wonder no one had ever managed to reach its end before. Even with a physique as powerful as Ling Han's, he still couldn't prevent the poisonous mist from penetrating his body. Where's my dog? Have you seen my dog? The old man asked Ling Han. He arrived in front of Ling Han just as expected. Strangely, however, it was as if the poisonous mist didn't dare to near his body. The air was clear for a radius of 3 meters around the old man. Ling Han grimaced before shuffling closer to the old man, using him to avoid the poison. At the same time, he channeled his origin power, forcing the poison that he had already inhaled out from his body. This was quite easy to do, especially since he wasn't being attacked by the poisonous mist anymore. Otherwise, if the old man wasn't here, he would be drowned in poison once he expended all of his origin power. At that time, he would be as good as dead. This old man had finally become useful for once. Ling Han advanced, and the old man followed beside him. This time, Ling Han didn't point in some random direction to send the old man away again. Instead, he simply shook his head, saying that he didn't know where the doggy was. And so, he explored this level with the old man, looking for the location of the palace. Because there was no map to guide him this time, he could only explore the 8th level blindly. After wandering around for 9 days, the two of them finally found the palace of the 8th level. Along the way, Ling Han also obtained some useful items. However, these were all poisonous medicinal ingredients. In any case, the high-level medicinal ingredients had all been eaten by the old man. 7-star palace. Ling Han didn't dare to trick the old man away, so the power in these 3 words was naturally absorbed by the old man. The 8th heavenly origin Dao fruit. Ling Han briskly walked over to take the exam of this level. He wanted to see what lay in the 9th level. This time, he had to reconstruct blended medicinal ingredients. Once again, Ling Han achieved a perfect result on this examination. He wore an expression of eager anticipation as the 9th level finally materialized before him. However, his expression of eager anticipation slowly turned into one of shock and surprise. This was because the 9th level was merely a small stretch of desolate land. There was only a small mountain before him and a palace to his side. Compared to the 8th level, this 9th level was countless times smaller. Astonishment spread across Ling Han's face as he gazed at the small mountain. Its shape was far too strange. Instead of a mountain, it looked more like a resting beast, an incredibly large beast. In the immortal realm, such large demonic beasts weren't a rare sight. In fact, there were even some that were hundreds of times larger than this. Whoosh, whoosh. Gusts of wind howled by in a very rhythmic manner. However, Ling Han's expression became even stranger. These gusts of wind bore an eerie resemblance to snoring. He walked to the other side of the mountain, and he couldn't help but grimace. Sure enough, this wasn't a mountain. Instead, it was a ginormous demonic beast. It was pitch black in color, and its tongue lay hanging out of its mouth. In fact, it was even drooling. My dog, the human skin old man suddenly exclaimed. He reached toward the mountain. No, dog. Chapter 1391, Large Black Dog. 1391 Large Black Dog. Looking closely, this was indeed a dog. A large black dog that was countless times larger than ordinary dogs. The old man's hand came into contact with the large black dog, triggering a burst of dazzling light and causing 9 brilliant halos to surge from its body. The large black dog shuddered and instantly stopped snoring. It opened its eyes, appearing dazed at first. Then, upon seeing the old man, a tense look flashed across its eyes. You scared the sh*t out of Grandpa Dog. What the hell? The large black dog suddenly jumped up and raced away. However, the 9th level was far too small, so he immediately crashed into the boundary and was sent reeling back. My dog. The old man continued to reach over to stroke the large black dog. Holy sh*t. Save me. What the hell? The large black dog continued to avoid the old man, running in circles around the level. However, he was far too ginormous, and the space in the 9th level was far too limited. It wasn't long before he ran a full circle around the level and caught up to the human skin old man from behind. I'll shrink. The large black dog shook his body and instantly started to shrink in size, becoming as large as a normal dog. His fur bristled as he frantically fled from the old man. Ling Han couldn't help but cluck in amusement. The old man had relentlessly harped on about his dog, and sure enough, there truly was a dog here. The old man continued to pursue the dog. He had grasped the regulations of space, so he could cover dozens of kilometers in a single stride even though he didn't appear very quick. He reached over to grab the tail of the large black dog. Save me! The large black dog exclaimed upon seeing Ling Han. He immediately dashed toward Ling Han. Killing intent oozed from the old man, and he said, You dare to steal my dog? Tears of blood rolled out from his empty eye sockets. This was a petrifying sight. Motherfucker, I'm innocent. Ling Han immediately started to flee from the large black dog. However, the large black dog was far too evil, and he continued to chase after Ling Han. Fuck. sh*tty dog, why are you following me? Ling Han shouted. What is life without exercise? Running can keep one healthy, the large black dog said seriously. It was clear that he didn't feel any guilt at all. Fine, this is another degenerate being. Ling Han really wanted to facepalm. Why couldn't he come across more normal beings? Return my dog. Tears of blood were streaming down the old man's face, each drop that splattered to the ground transforming into a lake of blood. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before this level became a sea of blood. *TTY dog, that old man is clearly your owner. Hurry up and leave with him. Ling Han exclaimed. Pay. You're a *TTY dog. Your entire family consists of *TTY digs. If you want to follow him so badly, then please go and do so. I have no relationship with this human-skinned monster. The large black dog shouted in a strange voice. Meanwhile, he continued to run as fast as the wind. This large black dog was truly a special breed. He was only at the heavenly body tier, yet his speed was no slower than Ling Han's. Fuck that dog. Ling Han was speechless, and he could only continue to flee from the large black dog. Woof. You want to fuck me? See how I bite you to death. The large black dog immediately widened its maws and bit toward Ling Han, catching Ling Han's leg. Ow wow. Stinky brat. What in the world are you made out of? Why are you as tough as divine metal? Ling Han bared his teeth in pain. His physique was indeed tough, yet this large black dog was also a very special breed. His bite had actually caused him to feel slight pain. *TTY dog, let go of me. Let go of me. Growling, I'm going to fuck you to death. No, bite you to death. The large black dog was a dog who would harbor grudges for a very long time. Ling Han frantically shook his leg and shouted, *TTY dog, let go. The old freak is catching up. The large black dog was incredibly heavy, and this greatly affected his speed. However, the grip of this dog was truly astonishing, and he couldn't be shaken off no matter what. I'll let go if you pay me a compensation of 10,000 pieces of divine metal. The large black dog made an exorbitant demand. Fuck off. Ling Han felt that he was already very good at swindling people. However, compared to this dog, he was like a man of great morals. Even the old ginseng and rabbit couldn't compare to this large black dog. As the saying went, there were skies beyond skies, and there were mountains beyond mountains. The blood tears of the old man had already formed numerous lakes around the 9th level. Moreover, they were starting to connect together now, transforming from numerous small lakes into one large lake. At this rate, it would only be a matter of time before the entire 9th level was covered in a sea of blood. Not only that, but these bodies of blood were also extremely terrifying. Ling Han didn't dare to run over them at all. With just a single glance, he could already sense the harrowing, murderous aura that was emanating from the blood. This blood could definitely dissolve him in an instant. He ran through the air, yet the large black dog's incredible weight was significantly slowing him down. It was as if he were running with a mountain on his back. Dog, I'm about to get serious. Ling Han threw a punch toward the large black dog, even imbuing the power of heaven's lightning in his strike. Freak. The large black dog hurriedly let go of him in fright. He was indeed strong, yet he was still afraid of being struck by heaven's lightning. He would be severely wounded even if he wasn't killed. Anyhow, how could a human wield heaven's might? If he wasn't a freak, then what was he? Ling Han activated the star-plucking step and tried to keep as far away from the large black dog as possible. However, if he genuinely ran out of options, he would immediately enter the Black Tower. He naturally couldn't sacrifice his life for the sake of keeping the Black Tower a secret. However, the large black dog was truly evil, still continuing to pursue Ling Han. Meanwhile, the human skin old man chased after the two of them. The blood lakes merged and drowned out the entire 9th level. The old man was far too powerful, and even the palace of the 9th level was unable to withstand his power. The walls of the palace were rapidly eroded amid the tumultuous sea of blood. Has the time already arrived? A childish voice suddenly said. This voice slowly reverberated throughout the entire level. The old man immediately stopped, and the hair of the large black dog all stood on ends. Meanwhile, Ling Han wore a very strange expression. He realized that he had been swept up in some very mysterious matter. Why me again? A column of light burst from the palace, immediately evaporating the sea of blood. The desolate land appeared before them once more. Who are you? The human skin old man asked. You should be asking, who am I? The childish voice replied. However, there was haughtiness in this voice, and it was as if it belonged to some transcendent and paramount god. Who am I? The human skin old man asked in confusion. You're the sheet of skin that I shed in my fifth life, the childish voice replied. However, this reply sent chills down Ling Han's spine. Ling Han had initially thought that the old man had been ruthlessly skinned after coming across some supremely powerful enemy. However, judging by this reply, he was a sheet of skin that had been voluntarily shed. Moreover, it was shed in the fifth life of this person. This person has already lived for 5 lives. Hang on, there are 9 levels in the Medicine King's cave. Could it be that this person created a new level with each life that he lived? Moreover, the 9 heavenly origin Tao fruits are all fused with something. Gasp. Perhaps they're fused with the body or divine sense of this person? 9 nines return to 1. What kind of freak is going to be born in this life? So, that's how it is, the human skin old man murmured. He sat down, bursts of brilliant light pulsating around his body. He was returning to Tao. He had only remained alive due to his 2 obsession. She wanted to know who he was, and he wanted to find his dog. Now that he had found his dog and learned of his identity, these obsessive thoughts naturally evaporated into nothingness. As such, it was only natural that he'd return to Tao. After all, he wasn't a genuine living being. Ling Han felt as if he were facing a great enemy. It was extremely likely that this mysterious person had already lived through 9 lives. However, where had he obtained so many reincarnation flowers from? How did he manage to live one life after the next? Heh, young man, you're overthinking things, the childish voice suddenly said. I managed to live one life after the next due to my own strength and power. However, I could only live for 1 million years in each of my previous lives. After planting and cultivating the spirits of my 9 previous lives, I managed to nurture the true body of my 10th life. During this life, I'll definitely stun the world and rewrite history. Returning to Tao essentially means accepting death. Chapter 1392, Body of 9 Lives. 1392 Body of 9 Lives. Heh, it doesn't matter if you don't understand. I can explain this slowly. In any case, there's still some time until I'm born into the world. Moreover, it's already been hundreds of millions of years since I last spoke. I also feel quite bored, the childish voice said. I come from a mysterious place, a place so mysterious that you'll never be able to imagine it. In that place, you can possess an infinite lifespan. In that place, beings can reach the pinnacle of evolution. One day, however, I was banished from that place. I didn't commit any wrong, and I was simply banished because my father had sided with the wrong people. The consequences of his mistake also ended up affecting me. I swear that I'll definitely return. After leaving that world, I was unable to resist the power of time and prevent myself from aging, even though I possessed boundless power. Thus, I took a risk and started practicing a secret technique, the 9 Deaths Heaven art. After living 9 lives and burying my 9 previous bodies, I'll finally obtain boundless glory in my 10th life. In each of my first 9 lives, I could only live for a mere 1 million years. I would then have to grab onto the tiny sliver of life as I approached eventual death. After dying 9 times, I was finally able to nurture a divine fetus. This divine fetus is the body for my 10th life. I'm sure you've already seen the heavenly origin Tao fruits planted in each level of this mysterious realm. However, you're probably unaware that a wisp of my divine sense is buried beneath each of these heavenly origin Tao fruit. After experiencing 900 million years, each of these divine senses will become tremendously powerful. When my 9 divine senses fuse, the power of my divine sense will be unparalleled, not only in the present, but also when casting our eyes into the ancient past and distant future. During this life, I'll have heaven open its eyes to me, and have earth bow its head to me. I, Gu Dawi, was a supreme genius even in my initial life. Even time has failed to kill me. I'll definitely attain glory in this life, a glory even more dazzling than what I've experienced in my first life. The childish voice of Gu Dawi reverberated around the 9th level. Oh, Ling Han replied. He finally understood what this Medicine King's cave was all about. You're from the celestial realm, correct? Pooh. If Gu Dawi were standing before Ling Han right now, his expression would definitely be one of pure shock. He was certain that the celestial realm was a supreme secret, yet the first person that he met in this life had already casually uttered its name. It was only natural that he felt stunned. His feeling of superiority vanished into smoke. Gu Dawi couldn't help but ask, "How do you know about the celestial realm?" The beings of this world definitely shouldn't have known about the existence of the celestial realm. After all, the celestial realm had been sealed off from this world countless years ago. Someone told me about it, Ling Han casually replied. He naturally wouldn't say that he even knew people from the celestial realm, not just any random person, but people from the mighty rock palace. Gu Dawi was speechless. TSK, more than one person knew about the existence of the celestial realm. This was quite a big blow to his ego. Oh, that's right. Where did this dog come from? Ling Han asked. The human skin old man had relentlessly asked him for the whereabouts of this dog before. In fact, he had repeated the same question at least tens of thousands of times. Thus, even Ling Han was curious about this dog now. During my first life, I found an egg in some ancient site of the celestial realm. Unexpectedly, this useless black dog was what hatched from it, Gu Dawi said in disdain. Woof. You're useless. Your entire family is useless. The large black dog immediately cursed in retort. He definitely wouldn't lose in a war of words. Although I still have yet to be born, and although I can only begin as mortal when I'm eventually born, this entire place is controlled by my divine sense. Once I activate my supreme formation, no one in the immortal realm will be able to withstand my power, Gu Dawi said calmly. The large black dog immediately backed down, muttering, "Wise dogs don't fight losing battles. When I leave this place, I'll definitely curse until I'm content." Ling Han felt that the large black dog was quite extraordinary. At the very least, he could cause him pain when he bit him. This was something that perhaps no other heavenly body tier elite could achieve. Just this ability alone caused Ling Han to think that the large black dog was indeed worthy of being a dog that had hatched from some egg from an ancient site of the celestial realm. However, it was quite strange that this large black dog had hatched from an egg. Had his father copulated with a swan? The large black dog immediately raised his paw and said, "Brat, there's something very wrong with your expression. Are you mentally masturbating over my father?" The observation skills of this dog are incredible. This dog is quite strange too, Gu Dawi said. He actually managed to come to this place and seal his own life force. It's clear that he's only at the heavenly body tier, yet he was actually able to survive until now. However, I've already severed the karma and fate of my 9 previous lives. How about this? I'll gift this dog to you. With a companion by your side, neither of you will feel lonely in the afterlife. Companion your mom, the large black dog immediately cursed. He turned to Ling Han and said, "Brat, hurry up and unleash whatever trump cards you have. This brat is so toxic. Destroy him. There's no need to give me face." Ling Han's expression was cold. Judging by Gu Dawi's words, he would start from scratch once he was born. Thus, regardless of how talented he was, he would still need time to grow. However, there were 9 supreme killing formations in this mystery realm, each of which could exterminate a Saint King. Moreover, these supreme killing formations were all under the complete control of Gu Dawi. As such, Gu Dawi could kill them with absolute ease if he wanted to. Since you claim invincibility in this world, what's the point of killing us? Ling Han questioned. Unless he was forced into a dead end, he didn't want to use his Black Tower, especially not before an elite of the celestial realm. In any case, we're not able to threaten you, are we? Gu Daoyi fell silent as he mulled over this. After obtaining a 10th life, his personality had already undergone huge changes. Otherwise, with the maturity that he possessed in his first life, how could he allow others to sway his resolve? What would he care about the recognition of others? However, hundreds of millions of years of loneliness had caused him to develop a craving for recognition. Although he would be born immortal, the foundation laid out by his 9 previous lives would mean that he possessed peerless talent. Thus, it wouldn't be long before he reached the pinnacle of the immortal realm. Anyhow, could anyone from the immortal realm enter the celestial realm? No way. The gates to the celestial realm had been closed long ago. Moreover, only those who had grasped both the power of creation and power of destruction could blast open a passageway between the two realms. As such, he wasn't worried that Ling Han would enter the celestial realm in the future and reveal his secret. So be it. I'll allow you 2 ants to witness the birth of my legend. I'll allow you to sing praises of my might to the world. Gu Daoyi finally reached a decision. Ling Han's mind whirred, and he said, "The Star Sand Martial Arts Academy Myriad Directions Galaxy will open within the next 100 years, and the young king tiers from the hundreds of nearby galaxies will all converge there. However, only those who have reached the heavenly body tier will have the right to enter this academy." Gu Daoyi's interest was immediately piqued. This was the beginning of his 10th life, and thus his mind was also undergoing development. As a result, he also craved fame and recognition like all young people did. If he could defeat all of the young king tiers of the world, that would naturally bring him boundless fame and glory. Ling Han chuckled in his mind. He knew that Gu Daoyi's interest had been piqued. In any case, he obviously hadn't mentioned this for the benefit of Gu Daoyi. Instead, he had mentioned it so that he could personally pummel Gu Daoyi at that time. So what if Gu Daoyi had lived 9 lives to create the foundation for his 10th life? Ling Han was confident that he was invincible against those at the same cultivation level. If anyone wanted to challenge him, he would beat them into the ground. Gu Daoyi laughed heartily and said, "Fine, with my cultivation speed, I'll have definitely reached the heavenly body tier by that time. At that time, I'll let the beings of this world witness my true strength. You too can leave now. Remember, go to the Star Sand Martial Arts Academy in 100 years' time. There, you'll witness the beginning of my legend." Wang. Ling Han felt his body become heavy, and before he knew it, he was already outside the Medicine King's cave. Several powerful divine senses instantly swept over his body. These were the divine senses of eternal river tier elites, and they made him feel as if he couldn't hide any secrets. Chapter 1393, Returning to the Joint Peace Plane. 1393, Returning to the Joint Peace Plane. Taking into account the time, it was very likely that the competition over the flower of Makara had already come to an end. Thus, the elites were all very attentive, carefully inspecting every heavenly body tier elite that left the mystery realm. They were all hell-bent on obtaining this poisonous flower. In fact, they had all prepared for countless years just for this one competition. Schwa, schwa, schwa. However, right at this moment, more and more people appeared outside the Medicine King's cave. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of people had already appeared. Everyone had been teleported out from the Medicine King's cave. Some people had been plucking godly medicines, while others had been taking examinations. Some people had also been preparing themselves in the palaces. However, without exception, they were all tossed out from the mysterious realm at this moment. This caused confusion in many people's minds. My time limit is still far from expiring. The elites were also confused. What in the world is going on? However, someone immediately recounted the appearance of the human skin old man. Of course, they also recounted how the flower of Makara had been eaten by the old man. The Eternal River tier elites were instantly stupefied. In order to obtain this flower, they had all done meticulous planning for tens of millions of years. Yet, a strange being had suddenly appeared and eaten the flower. The elites were about to go crazy. Where on earth had that elite come from? My dog. Have you seen my dog? What secret was hidden behind these words? Ling Han couldn't help but laugh in his mind. These people would never learn of the true events that had taken place inside the mystery realm. In any case, it wouldn't be long before Gu Daoyi entered the world again. At that time, the 9 levels of godly medicines would all be his property. Thus, the 4 major clans wouldn't receive any more benefits from the Medicine King's cave in the future. But why had the Medicine King's cave opened every once in a while and even rewarded the people who had entered? Ling Han didn't know why, but perhaps there was something wrong with Gu Daoyi's brain. Or perhaps he couldn't stand the feeling of loneliness. Because no one had managed to obtain the flower of Makara, the Eternal River Tier elites all lost interest in inspecting the yield of the cultivators any further. After all, it was about the same every single time. Most people would bring back some low-level pill recipes, while those who were lucky would bring back some level 10 or so great herbs. How could such things interest them? As such, Ling Han was able to leave casually with the large black dog. He didn't bid farewell to Lin Yuqi either. That woman was extremely bewitching, and it was probably best to stay as far away from her as possible. It's time to leave. The large black dog naturally wouldn't tag along with Ling Han. In any case, he was extremely eager to travel around anyway. There was no sign that he was feeling grief after being abandoned by his owner. However, he said that he would go to the Myriad Directions Galaxy within 100 years and enter the Star Sand Martial Arts Academy. In his words, he was going to capture a few beautiful women to act as his mounts. How to botched. Ling Han knew that this large black dog wasn't someone with a good moral compass. He truly wanted to throw him in a group with the old ginseng and rabbit, making them the group of 3 debauched beasts. However, with this large black dog's personality, he would probably roast rabbit and stew the old ginseng before long. Ling Han pushed these thoughts from his mind as he retrieved his cloud-piercing shuttle and soared into the air, toward the vast and empty galaxy. This signified the beginning of a 2-year-long journey through the universe. With the galactic coordinates, the cloud-piercing shuttle could fly autonomously. Thus, Ling Han entered the Black Tower to refine his cultivation. After this was done, he would then work to advance to the medium extreme. Inside the Black Tower, everyone had achieved significant improvements. Dingping had already reached the peak stage of the pinnacle level of the Mountain River Tier, while Jiuyao had also sensed the barrier to the pinnacle level of the Mountain River Tier. However, although Feng Piyun and Murong Qing had both reached the consummate level of the Mountain River Tier, they were unable to sense the barrier to the pinnacle level no matter what. Cultivation talent was indeed important. If advancing to the pinnacle level required 1% of talent and 99% of effort, then without that 1% of talent, one wouldn't be able to reach the pinnacle level even if they exerted the other 99% of effort. This was the case with Feng Piyun and Murong Qing. After reaching the consummate level, they had witnessed Ling Han and even his 2 disciples advance to or begin to advance to the pinnacle level. Meanwhile, they were only able to wander around, unable to discover the barrier to the pinnacle level. As such, they had both become extremely determined, unwilling to admit defeat. However, there were some things that just couldn't be done with pure determination alone. It was the sliver of talent that separated true king tiers from countless other prodigies. Even so, Ling Han didn't convince his 2 brothers to stop aiming for the pinnacle level. Cultivators had to determine their own paths. Meanwhile, he would quietly support those dear to him, regardless of what they chose to do. The Heavenly Phoenix Divine Maiden was still a fair way off from reaching the Heavenly Body Tier. Perhaps she would reach the Heavenly Body Tier after cultivating under the Reincarnation Tree for 2 more years. After all, there was a saint here, and he would provide them with guidance from time to time. The notionless saint naturally enjoyed the most rapid cultivation speed out of everyone in the Black Tower. Right now, he had already reached the high extreme of the Mountain River Tier. Of course, this was partly because he had been a saint in the past, meaning that he didn't need to overcome any new barriers during his cultivation. Moreover, he had a huge amount of alchemical pills to support his cultivation. However, the most important aspect was probably his 5-element body unleashing its potential. Although this would cause the celestial decline to befall him 10 times more frequently, Its positive effect on cultivation was also incredibly potent and evident. In fact, even Ling Han was envious of his five-element body, wanting to possess such a body for himself. Of course, this was only a momentary urge. Ling Han started to cultivate earnestly. However, he didn't go into absolute seclusion. Sometimes he comprehended the great Tao, and sometimes he studied alchemy. After all, he was only aiming to advance one minor level. This wouldn't be too difficult. After spending 2 months under the reincarnation tree, Ling Han finally mastered the refinement process of the flying fire pill. Although this was a level 10 divine pill, its refinement process was starkly different due to its nature as a weapon rather than an alchemical pill that was ingested. However, once the refinement process of this flying fire pill was mastered, it would be extremely easy to refine. Ling Han continued to refine flying fire pills as he cultivated, his stock of flying fire pills slowly growing. Only when he ran out of explosion fruits did Ling Han stop refining alchemical pills and shift his full focus to cultivation. Half a year passed, and he was the first to achieve a breakthrough. The cloud-piercing shuttle stopped in the universe so that Ling Han could exit to face his heavenly tribulation. After enduring the torturous pain of shattering his own godly bones again, Ling Han successfully advanced to the medium extreme of the heavenly body tier. Meanwhile, the murderous aura of the divine demon sword grew even stronger after facing the tribulation alongside him. Afterward, the people in the Black Tower advanced one after another. Regarding those who advanced to the Sun-Moon tier, they could ingest a berserk blood spirit pill with each minor level that they advanced, all the way until they reached the pinnacle of the Sun-Moon tier. 12 years in the real world or 5,000 years under the reincarnation tree would be enough time for them to accumulate enough comprehension and advance to the next minor level. Although their return trip would only take 2 years, everyone in Black Tower was advancing in leaps and bounds. Right now, the Black Tower was already complete with the 5 elements. Thus, Ling Han started to comprehend the plethora of unique techniques of the indestructible Heaven Scroll. According to Small Tower, he would gain the ability to block a single strike from a Genesis tier, saying if he managed to comprehend all of these unique techniques and if he channeled them with his full power. Of course, the limit was only 1 strike. However, this was already an unbelievable ability. Those were Genesis tier saints. With a single strike, even Eternal River tier elites would only be able to accept their fate of death. However, he Heavenly Body tier elite would be able to block a single strike. Moreover, he also possessed Rising from the Ashes, a technique that would allow him to rise from the dead. In other words, he could potentially block 2 strikes from a Genesis tier saint. This was unfathomable. Ling Han poured all of his time and effort into these unique techniques. However, even with the help of the reincarnation tree, he could only reach a stage of small accomplishment by the time he arrived back at the Joint Peace Planet. This wasn't enough for him to block a strike of a Genesis tier saint. However, he could probably block the strike of an Eternal River tier elite, even if they were at the consummate level. The cloud-piercing shuttle landed on the familiar yet unfamiliar planet. "I've returned," Ling Han exclaimed in his mind. Chapter 1394, Stopover and Conflic. 1394 Stopover and Conflic. Everyone came out of the Black Tower. After cultivating hard for so many years, there was naturally a need to relax a bit. Simply working hard on cultivation was not the best method of cultivation. Because the cloud-piercing shuttle was actually a starship at present, it was suited to fly through the galaxy, but if it was a planetary flight, it was extremely difficult to control its landing. They landed in the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire, which gave Ling Han a feeling of both familiarity and unfamiliarity. The feeling of familiarity was because this was Joint Peace Planet, and unfamiliarity was because this was the territory of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire, and he had never been here before. With Ling Han's present abilities, he could easily do as he willed in this majestic empire. As long as the Eternity Sky Emperor did not appear, there was practically no one capable of matching him. However, Ling Han had no wish to cause trouble, either. He checked the direction, and then headed towards the chaotic star's majestic empire. He had not seen the Empress for so many years, so he did miss her slightly. The heavenly phoenix divine maiden was jealous and couldn't help but deliver a pinch to his waist. Ling Han said a great many sweet words to finally appease this jealous lover. Ling Han was not worried that a conflict would occur when the two women met, mainly because Empress Luanxing was too overbearing. Probably every other woman aside from Hun Yo would be intimidated by her presence. She was truly deserving of the title of Big Sister without any doubt. With such a leader of the harem standing by, it was guaranteed that there would be no chaos. Still, am I really going to establish a harem? Ling Han asked himself, and couldn't help but grin bitterly. Though he only had 2 actual wives, he was naturally going to wed the heavenly phoenix divine maiden. She had held the name of Ling family's widow for over 10,000 years, so how could he bring himself to let her down? The empress was exquisitely beautiful without compare, and Ling Han had to admit that he was very interested and did not want to give her up. This was already the 4th. In the celestial realm, he could not disappoint Liu Yutong and Li Xichan. Either if he dared to abandon them, he'd probably be chased out of the house by his own mother and father. 6. And there was also Hun Yo. This little girl was obviously determined to marry him. Furthermore, she was very much glued to him. He probably wouldn't be able to fling her off no matter what he did. Then it'll be 7. No more than that, Ling Han said, counting on his fingers. The group traveled in the territory of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire. They did not alert anyone of their presence and kept a very low profile. 3 days later, they had arrived at a small town, but this place was apparently a little strange. There were extraordinarily many people here, and many of them were elites too. This elite was in terms of the overall cultivation level of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire. Heavenly Body Tier was the strongest elite, and Sun Moon Tier could claim to be elites. Thus, the elites here were in the Sun Moon Tier. Ling Han naturally would not take them to heart. Putting aside that this was only Joint Peace Planet, there were not that many elites that deserved his serious attention in the whole galaxy. Coincidentally, both the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Maiden and Ding Ping actually broke through at this time, so Ling Han and his group could only stop over in this place and wait. The two of them each went to a deserted area and began to release the restrictions on their cultivation level so they could attract a heavenly tribulation. The remaining members of the group, meanwhile, found a tea house to sit down for a while. Enduring a tribulation would be half a day, at least, and added with the trip to and fro, about a day's time was still necessary. Hence, they sat down for a short while. Furthermore, a restaurant was also a good place to obtain information. Ling Han had also left for quite a good number of years, and added with the fact that this place was obviously abnormal, there was no harm in probing for some information. True enough, there were many people here willing to fill him in, and very soon, Ling Han found out the reason why this place would be so bustling with noise and excitement. That was because a treasure was about to appear in this place. It was still unknown what exactly it was. In the last few months, brilliant light had appeared from under the ground that shot through the skies, but the exact location was still unclear. Thus, there were increasingly more and more elites who had come here after they received the news. Master, should we also join in on the excitement? Zhang Yefeng asked, his expression filled with excitement. He was a showy guy. Even after he had married, had a daughter, and 10,000 years had passed, there was still not the slightest change to his personality. Chun Ruijing and the others were also restless. They could only be called elites on Cloud Apex Planet, but were qualified to be called strong elites here, causing their confidence to boom. They very much wanted to show off a bit. Ling Han gave the matter some thought and said, "In any case, we are free. Go on. But you all must return after a day." "Yes, master." Chun Ruijing and the others dragged Jiuyao off with them as well. This youngest junior brother advanced at a very frightening rate and was just a hair's breadth away from the peak stage of the pinnacle level. He could just barely be called a Sun-Moon tier elite. Kan Yi, Yuan Chenghe, and the others also went with them. In any case, they wanted to gain some experience. Founder, Rabbit, Ginseng, and I will go play then. Zhang Qiaoling's personality was also similar to her father's. She was the type that could not sit still at all. Go on. Ling Han waved her off, appearing to be completely nonchalant. Meanwhile, Ling Han sipped tea with his two brothers, discussing cultivation, trying to give them a bit of inspiration so they would suddenly be enlightened and comprehend the profound mysteries of the pinnacle level. But a 4-star genius was already very rare. What more when it was the pinnacle level? Ling Han sighed internally. Natural talent was really very important, and the higher the cultivation level, the more obvious how important it was. Going by this theory, Gu Daoyi really could not be underestimated. He had cultivated the fruits of cultivation of 10 lives with his body of 9 lives. Great Saint level and Saint level had participated in the reforging of his physique. What astonishing physique could have been nurtured from that? That is what incited my fighting spirit. Otherwise, what meaning would there be to be invincible among all those in the same cultivation level? If there did not exist a few rivals in one's life, that would really be lonely, Ling Han thought. He was not too bad himself. Indestructible Heaven's Scroll was his powerful trump card, and his grasp of Heaven's might was becoming more and more proficient, and added with the strength of the divine demon sword. It was really unbelievable that anyone in the same cultivation level as he could be an equal match for him. Less than half a day later, Zhang Xiaoling had actually returned with Rabbit and the old ginseng. Ling Han was very surprised. This trio had actually come back so soon. This was very illogical. His eyes swept over them. Zhang Xiaoling, Rabbit, and the old ginseng all avoided his gaze, not daring to make eye contact with him. Ling Han immediately knew that something was off and asked, "What is it? Got into trouble?" Hee. Zhang Xiaoling did not fear her founder, Ling Han, mainly because Ling Han was too young, and was even younger than her. However, she dared not be impudent in front of him, either. In her heart, Ling Han was more like the role of an imposing elder brother. Little Han, this time is really not Xiao Qiao's fault. A bastard actually wanted to harass Xiao Qiao. Grandpa Ginseng and Brother Rabbit were naturally angered. We each gave him a kick, and respectively destroyed that idiot's balls, the old ginseng boldly proclaimed. Haha, this bastard has 2 less balls, so wouldn't he become King 6 Eggs? Rabbit laughed loudly. Ling Han had always been one to defend his own people, so he nodded and said, "Since that is the case, that is naturally no fault of yours. You have done very well. We do not bully others, but we cannot allow others to bully us either." Ho ho, how boastful of you. A cold laugh rang out from the entrance of the tea house. This voice sounds very familiar, someone gasped. Of course, this is the 7th tiger of the Wang clan. What? Wang Chuanqi. Run. When 7th tiger Wang arrives, it will definitely become a bloodbath. In an instant, all the other customers of the restaurant ran off completely. Ling Han and his group were on the 1st floor, so they merely needed to cast their eyes towards the entrance and they could see who had arrived. That was a man with a sturdy build, a complete tiger's hide draped around him. It could be seen that the lifelike tiger's head was covering his head, exuding an air of malevolence. "You've beaten a member of our Wang clan, so do you think you can still slip away?" Wang Chuanqi asked coldly. You may notice 2 weren't named. IRC, they were the dragon girl surnamed Hellion from Smaller World and the academy teacher. This is a bit difficult to explain. Basically, bastard in Chinese directly translates to King 8 Eggs, with eggy being synonymous to testicles. So since the poor guy has had his destroyed, he becomes King 6 Eggs. Chapter 1395, The 11 Tigers of the Wang Clan. 1395, The 11 Tigers of the Wang Clan. The Wang clan were not residents of this town, but rather came from a large city. The ancestor of the Wang clan, Wang Hao, was merely over 2 million years old at present, and he had already reached the consummate level of the Sun-Moon tier. In the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire, this was already considered a first-grade force. Heavenly Body tier naturally was the top-grade force. Ordinarily, the higher the power, the fewer the children. This was because his essence had condensed, and added with the fact that cultivation itself was something that went against natural law, and he would receive a backlash from the heaven and earth. It was very difficult to leave behind descendants. Many people would find it difficult to leave behind a child even after 10 million years, and this was not the slightest bit strange. But this ancestor of the Wang clan did not have any concern about this aspect. He had a total of 11 sons, and each of his sons was especially fertile as well. These 11 sons were also extraordinarily talented in cultivation. 9 of them had advanced into the sun-moon tier, and the youngest 2 sons were only slightly inferior to their elder brothers. They were named the 11 Tigers of the Wang clan. This time, all 11 Tigers of the Wang clan had mobilized and raced over here to compete for the treasure. However, because the treasure had not yet appeared, only 5 of the Tigers had taken part in the stakeout, while the remaining members of their group stayed in the town to preserve their strength. The 11 Tigers moved out and brought with them a great many juniors so that they could come and gain some insight. The person who had harassed Zhang Xiaoling and had had his balls destroyed for the attempt was a direct grandson of Wang Chuanqi. His grandson had been castrated, so how could Wang Chuanqi bear with that? He had immediately charged over. He was not a rash person, but Ling Han's aura was not apparent. It was as if he was an ordinary person. However, he could tell the cultivation levels of those beside him with a single look. They were merely in the mountain river tier. Then, since he was mixed in with these people, he obviously had to be in the mountain river tier as well. Asterisk, a small character of mountain river tier also dared to trifle with their Wang clan. Ling Han cast an eye over him and then withdrew his gaze. Wang Chuanqi was only in the low extreme of the sun-moon tier and was not even qualified to interest him regarding making a move. He waved him off dismissively and said, "Discipline your own juniors well, or he won't get off as easily next time." Wang Chuanqi involuntarily flew into a rage. "You are too arrogant, aren't you?" He swept a sinister look over Ling Han's group and said, "Humph, since you are all so stubborn, then I will kill all of you. This woman shall become my grandson's maid." He pointed at Zhang Xiaoling. All of this had been because of this asterisk. She really did not know what was good for her. To gain the interest of his grandson was her good fortune, and she actually dared to refuse him and even wound him. He was without scruples and immediately charged over. In his eyes, this was merely a group of mountain river tier weaklings. He would be able to kill them with a single move. Ling Han sighed and said, "If I made a move on you, others would say that I am being a bully." But when it was time to move, he would not hesitate in the slightest either. He pointed a finger and Pu. Wang Chuanqi immediately exploded, turning into a shower of blood. He waved his hand again, and the shower of blood had burnt to nothing, becoming energy that returned to the heaven and earth. It was as if this person had never existed in the first place. "You're so strong, Founder." Zhang Xiaoling quickly sucked up to Ling Han. "That is thanks to Grandpa Ginseng's teachings." The old ginseng jumped onto Ling Han's shoulder and boasted shamelessly. "It's been a long time since I have had some ginseng soup," Ling Han stated deliberately. The old ginseng clearly knew that Ling Han was joking, but was still so petrified that all the beards on his body stood on end. He quickly ran to stand on Zhang Xiaoling's shoulder, not daring to stay beside a demon king like Ling Han. He and that little girl in the celestial realm were all super gluttons. There was really nothing that they did not dare to eat. The 7th tiger of the Wang clan had been killed. This was big news and immediately caused a great commotion in the town. "Master, we got the treasure." After a while, Chen Ruijing and the others returned. He held a completely black wooden sword. It looked like a stick that was used to stir the coal. There were a great many nicks in it, and he could not tell how this was a treasure in the slightest. "You all just managed to snatch this thing?" Ling Han couldn't help a muscle twitching in his cheek. "Master, even though this item looks very common, none of us managed to snap it in half," Zhou said. Ling Han was surprised. He snatched out at midair, and the wooden sword flew into his grasp. He casually waved it, and a table was instantly shattered into pieces by the impact. However, Ling Han frowned. It had not been severed by the wooden sword, but rather had been because he had focused his power and directly shattered the table into collapsing. It could only be said that this wooden sword was indeed very sturdy. At the very least, it could bear Ling Han's strength. Ling Han tried to break this wooden sword, but this time, he was really stunned. With his strength, he actually could do absolutely nothing to it. Merely for this reason, it could be called a treasure. At least it was sturdy enough. Let go of the treasured sword. Big brother, second brother, third brother. At this time, two groups of people arrived at the tea house at the same time. Old 6, Old 8, Old 9. Why have you all come here? Did you get the news? Damn it. Old 7 has been killed. What? Coincidentally, these two groups of people were all from the Wang clan. Just that one of the two groups was participating in the competition for the treasure and had just now raced here, whereas the other group were people that the Wang clan had left behind to take care of things. After they found out that Old 7 had been killed, all of them had raced over to avenge him. Only Ling Han's group was present in the tea house, so it was too easy to identify them. Hand over the treasured sword, kneel down, and accept your death, and we can allow you a quick death, the first tiger of the Wang clan declared balefully. They had been tyrannical for over 1 million years, and this was the first time one of their brothers had been killed. This caused him to fly into a thunderous rage. He was already in the high extreme of the sun-moon tier, and was only slightly inferior to his old father. He had enough confidence to be overbearing. Who do you think you are? You dare to speak this way to my master? Chun Ruijing was the first to step out. The tigers of the Wang clan couldn't help but be surprised. That was because Ling Han's aura was reserved, and he looked very ordinary, so how could it be that he had a disciple in the sun-moon tier? But so what? Whoever touched a member of the Wang clan, death was his only destiny. At this time, even more people ran over. They were those who had taken part in the competition for the treasure and had failed. When they found out that Chen Ruijing and the others had brought the treasure here, they naturally chased them all the way here. Hand over the treasure. At least a few hundred people shouted. Furthermore, there were more and more people making their way here. They had got hold of the treasure and still did not rush to hide. They actually sat down boldly to sip tea here. Something must have gone wrong with their heads. If you want the treasure, just come and get it. I will play with you all, Jiang Yefeng declared very showily, and even unfolded his paper fan. He was truly very dashing. No wonder he had managed to charm a large number those many years ago. Kill them. Everyone did not hesitate. Though the majority of them did not even know what the treasure was, the word treasure was enough motivation for them to put their lives on the line. Chen Ruijing and the other disciples all charged out. If there was trouble, it was natural that it would be them disciples to do the work for their master. Ling Han did not make a move. With his present abilities, he could subdue these people in a single instant. This was a good chance for his disciples to gain some experience. Stop! A deep voice rang out, bringing with it a supreme air of assertiveness. It was like a bolt of lightning flashing across a clear sky. Immediately, everyone was intimidated and stopped. Even Chen Ruijing and the others looked to be struggling. They wanted to resist this kind of command, but their actions could not be controlled. This was a heavenly body tier elite. Otherwise, he would definitely not possess such intimidation. A figure appeared, his eyes focused on the wooden sword in Ling Han's hand. He asked, "Sir, could you part with the treasure?" When these words were said, everyone, including the 10 tigers of the Wang clan, were stunned into open-mouthed shock. This was a supreme elite of heavenly body tier, and he was actually so polite? Chapter 1396, Lei Dong. 1396 Lei Dong. Ling Han smiled faintly and asked, "What are you willing to trade for it?" The man hesitated slightly and replied, 100 million true origin stones. Everyone almost passed out. 100 million true origin stones. That was really an astonishing amount of wealth. The overall level of cultivation of Joint Peace Planet was lower than the Cloud Apex planets, not merely because of the cultivation techniques here, but also because of the issue of the natural environment. In this place, the production of true origin stones was obviously much smaller. Hence, if 100 million true origin stones on Cloud Apex planet was considered very wealthy, then it would be considered supremely wealthy in this place. Everyone else was dumbfounded. Only heavenly body tier elites would have such massive wealth to offer a price of 100 million true origin stones at the very beginning. Could it be that that young man was really so strong? Otherwise, What need was there for Lei Dong to use true origin stones to trade for the treasure? He could directly resort to force to snatch the treasure. In the cultivation world, using one's overwhelming power was not called snatching, but a matter of course. If you were not strong enough, then you were not qualified to possess the treasure. Is this the floating divine sword, Lei Dong, Lord Lei? Precisely. I never thought that even Lord Lei would be tempted by this treasure. Hiss, it must be extraordinary. He must have just happened to pass by coincidentally, right? Otherwise, how would that minor character have managed to obtain it? True. Everyone was whispering among themselves and had called out the name of this supreme elite of the heavenly body tier. Not enough. Ling Han shook his head. Though he did not know the true use of this sword, it was definitely worth more than 100 million true origin stones. Everyone inhaled sharply. 100 million true origin stones are still not enough? You're asking for too much, aren't you? A sliver of displeasure also appeared on Lei Dong's face. On Joint Peace Planet, 100 million true origin stones was definitely an astronomical number and was just about his entire savings. If it was not for the fact that he could tell Ling Han was also in the medium extreme of the heavenly body tier, he would definitely not be offering a price, but rather resorting to forcibly snatching the sword. However, precisely because Ling Han was equal in cultivation level to him, he did not wish to easily provoke him either. Those that had reached a height like them naturally would not start a fight easily with another of the same cultivation level, as that would implicate too much. He muttered irresolutely and asked, "Dare I ask how I may address you, and where have you come from?" There were only that many supreme elites of the heavenly body tier on the whole Joint Peace Planet. Though some of them lived in isolation and did not appear in public, those were all old monsters that had cultivated for innumerable millions of years. How could they possibly be this young? His life essence shot up into the skies. This was definitely a young king tier that was no more than 500 years old. This caused him to be wary. Being able to advance into the heavenly body tier before reaching 500 years old was too frightening. Who knew? He might have some great abilities that could not be imagined. Ling Han smiled lightly and asked, "Before you ask others, should you not introduce yourself first?" Such nerve. The 10 tigers of the Wang clan were all shocked. No wonder Ling Han dared to kill a member of their Wang clan. Fuck. He dared to speak so frankly even with a supreme elite of the heavenly body tier. Yet Lei Dong did not look angry at all. He knew Ling Han's cultivation level, so he would naturally not put on any airs. "I am Lei Dong, from the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire." He had purposely spoken the words Eternity Sky Majestic Empire because he thought that Ling Han could not possibly be from the Majestic Empire. Otherwise, if such a young heavenly body tier had appeared in the Majestic Empire, he would definitely have heard about it. Ling Han smiled faintly. Ling Han, from the Great Ling Empire. Great Ling Empire? Lei Dong looked blank. Where was that? The Great Ling Empire, I know that. Someone suddenly slapped a hand in realization on his thigh. This is a small nation subordinate to the Chaotic Star's Majestic Empire. It should have come through opening the sky over 20 years ago. Pooh! Lei Dong immediately spluttered in spite of himself. What joke was he playing? He had come by opening the sky 20 over years ago. Then wouldn't that mean that Ling Han had reached heavenly body tier all the way from shattering void tier in that little amount of time? That's got to be a lie. You belong to the Chaotic Star's Majestic Empire? Lei Dong asked darkly. That was what he thought. Ling Han shrugged and replied, "If you want to think that way, you may do so." The Empress would definitely be his in future, so it was no mistake to say that he belonged to the Chaotic Star's Majestic Empire, either. "Sir, you've gone too far." Lei Dong's expression was written all over with, as expected. A person of the Chaotic Star's Majestic Empire actually dared to come here, and even dared to snatch a treasure of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire? Had he even taken the elites of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire to heart? Have I? Ling Han smiled slightly, incredibly nonchalant. Finally, Lei Dong's fighting spirit was incited. Firstly, this was an elite from an opposing nation who had now barged here. going by reason. Since he had encountered such a person, even if there was no treasure involved, he had to make a move to suppress him as well. Otherwise, it would be a loss of national pride. Secondly, with the treasure added into the equation, he had even more of a reason to make a move. Thirdly, since Ling Han was a member of the Chaotic Star's majestic empire, he would not be able to draw on power of the nation here, but he could, and it could give him an additional boost of a star of battle prowess. For elites like them, how could they afford the gap of a star of battle prowess? Thus, his confidence was soaring, and he decided to make a move. Sir, since you dare come to our empire, you must bear the consequences. He brazenly moved, two heavenly bodies appearing behind him. Both of them were the same size. This meant he had reached the peak stage of the medium extreme of the heavenly body tier. Boom! His hand turned into a black demonic claw that rolled out towards Ling Han. The shock wave swept past, and it was strong enough to kill Chen Ruijing and the others. This was what heavenly body tier was. They possessed absolutely overwhelming strength. Ling Han pointed a finger, completely indifferent. Pooh! This demonic claw instantly shattered. Origin power surged like a mad wave, forcibly destroying the top of the tea house. The remaining power did not decrease. Pong, pong, pong. It razed the entire town, and only then did it settle. Thankfully, this was only the remaining shock wave after the direct impact. Though innumerable buildings had been destroyed, it did not possess much destructive power against living beings. Those that had reached the immortal level fortunately survived the disaster, but there were still countless casualties and injuries among those below immortal level. This was also why heavenly body tiers had to fight in midair. Their destructive power was too frightening. Lei Dong was completely unconcerned. In his eyes, even those in the Sun-Moon tier were ants, so how could he possibly care about the life and death of mere mortals? He appeared solemn. The other's strength had exceeded his expectations slightly. He had so easily dispelled his attack. And the 10 tigers of the Wang clan had all turned pale with fear. They did not know how strong Ling Han was, but he was capable of receiving the strike of a supreme elite of the heavenly body tier. What did that signify? That Ling Han was really in the heavenly body tier. They actually dared seek vengeance from this kind of elite. That would be like an old man committing suicide, too tired of living. Lei Dong drew his sword. He was named the Floating Divine Sword, so his strength was naturally in swordsmanship. The moment he drew his sword, fragrance would float far and wide. Death would happen without any signs in advance. Ling Han was still sitting calmly as he had been. He had even killed someone in the high extreme of the heavenly body tier, so he really did not take Lei Dong to heart. "Let us battle in the skies," Lei Dong declared darkly. It was an exchange of blows with an elite from an enemy empire. After all, if their battle caused too much death and destruction, it was inevitable that his reputation would be damaged. The hearts of the people would abandon him, and the power of the nation would become poison to him. "As you like," Ling Han replied calmly. The two of them shot up into the skies and confronted each other 30 kilometers in the air. Fragrance floats 10,000 miles, the sword leaving no mark. Lei Dong drew his sword. Shua, the sword struck, turning into countless flashes of sword light and forming a sword formation that pushed towards Ling Han. This sword light was earth-shattering, and there was nowhere to dodge. "Take a strike from me as well." Ling Han using his fingers like he would a sword, and swiped forwards. Lightning sword technique, the sword of heaven's might. It was very simple, yet brought with it a supreme aggression, enough to suppress all else. Chapter 1397, Heaven Execution Order. Chapter 1397, Heaven Execution Order. Compared with Lei Dong's swordlight that filled the skies, Ling Han had only delivered a single flash of swordlight, which appeared very frail. Yet it was this solitary flash of sword light that seemed like the king among swords, possessing an aura of invincibility. In front of my might of King Tier, all others, no matter how many their number were, would only be overwhelmed. Pooh! The attack swept over, and all the skies paled. Lei Dong showed an expression of deep astonishment. Previously, though Ling Han had easily dispelled his attack, he had only appeared slightly more serious because that was also an attack he had delivered casually. But this strike was different. He had already used an ultimate move, but Ling Han had still easily dispelled it. This caused a tempest of shock to rise up in his heart. How is he so powerful? He took in a deep breath, and the totem of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire suddenly appeared above his head. In the end, he had still drawn on power of the nation. Wang, the totem opened its eyes, focusing in on Ling Han. It seemed to possess a life of its own. That pair of eyes exuded a frightening, might as if merely its gaze was sufficient to suppress everything. Ling Han knew that this was not merely the totem, but also possessed the pressure that came from the Eternity Sky Emperor himself. All lands under the heavens belonged to the imperial authority. As long as the nation's leader willed it, he could check on any place inside the territory of his empire through the totem, and could even attack through the totem. Of course, any attack like that would not reach the strongest it could be. When a heavenly body tier elite wanted to draw on power of the nation, it was naturally a huge matter. Thus, the Eternity Sky Emperor was alerted at the first instant, cast his divine sense here, and saw Ling Han through the totem. Ling Han was standing proudly. So what if he was in the consummate level of the heavenly body tier? Presently, it was indeed very difficult for him to fight such a character, but if he was no match for him, he could always run, couldn't he? As long as he was given a little more time, killing an elite of consummate level would be the same like killing a chicken or a dog to him. Ling Han looked coldly at the totem. It could be considered a body doppelganger of the Eternity Sky Emperor. When the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire had invaded previously just to obtain the Nine-Demon Sword, causing countless bloodshed and death, this also caused Ling Han to be filled with killing intent towards the Eternity Sky Emperor. Lei Dong drew on power of the nation, and his power instantly increased greatly. This boost of a single star of battle prowess meant being 10 times stronger. Lei Dong gave a battle cry, and delivered a slash once more with his sword. The cold sword light lit up the whole sky, causing even the sun itself to darken. Probably 1/10 of the territory of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire could see this flash of sword light. The sword moves the mountains and rivers, he roared, delivering this sword strike at Ling Han. The sword light turned into rain, and there was nowhere that Ling Han could dodge in this world. Yet Ling Han still merely used a single finger. The lightning sword technique shot out, and he was the true king of swords. Pong, 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 pong. The shower of swords that filled the skies all evaporated. But this sword light that Ling Han had flicked out was still slicing out towards Lei Dong. Its might had not decreased in the slightest. What? Lei Dong paled in shock. How could Ling Han possibly be so powerful? He forcibly lifted his sword to parry, but when the sword light swept over him, his whole person was forced backwards. He had been sent flying over 100 miles before he finally stopped. Wang! Right at this moment, the totem in the skies suddenly moved, and a large hand stretched out from within and grabbed out at Ling Han. The Eternity Sky Emperor moved. Ling Han was disdainful, and greeted the incoming strike with a punch. Eternity Sky Emperor, if you had come personally, you would still have been qualified to fight me. But if you want to take me down with merely the power of the totem, that could only happen in your dreams. Pong! The punch landed. The large hand was first, and instantly exploded into smithereens. Subsequently, the totem also crumbled. However, the totem in the skies was merely a shadowy image, so even if it crumbled, it was fine. Very quickly, it reappeared once more. The Eternity Sky Emperor's face appeared through the totem. He stared menacingly at Ling Han as if wanting to clearly see his face. After a long while, he declared, "By my imperial command, the heaven execution order is placed on Ling Han." Hong, this was not merely said to Ling Han, but was broadcast to the whole Eternity Sky Majestic Empire through the totem. Hiss! At this instant, there was initially a dead silence in the territory of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire, followed by a great commotion. The heaven execution order. In the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire, there were a total of 3 types of execution orders, which were respectively heaven, earth, and mortal, corresponding to different types of elites. If the mortal execution order was issued, all mountain river tier cultivators in the Majestic Empire would be mobilized. They had to move if they encountered the person that had been issued the execution order, or they would be seen as traitors to the Majestic Empire. When the Earth execution order was issued, all elites of the Sun-Moon tier would have to move, and if it was the Heaven execution order, then even heavenly body tiers would have to leave everything else and hunt down and kill this person. In the history of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire, how many years had it been since the Heaven execution order had been issued? In that moment, Ling Han's name and appearance were broadcast through the whole Eternity Sky Majestic Empire through the totem. All heavenly body tier elites left whatever they had been doing at the time. Even those that had been cultivating in isolation immediately called a stop to their cultivation. Only the old monsters in the consummate level of the heavenly body tier could ignore the Heaven execution order. Their status was already outstanding enough that they could ignore the imperial authority. But how would others dare to do the same? All of a sudden, at least 50 heavenly body tier elites moved. This was more or less the full power of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire. Ha 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 ha. Lei Dong laughed loudly. I really never thought that His Majesty would actually issue the Heaven execution order for you. Ling Han, why don't you quickly scramble back to the Chaotic Star's Majestic Empire with your tail between your legs? However, you would have to leave behind that wooden sword for me. Otherwise, I will do my utter best to detain you, so that you would be besieged on all sides. No matter how powerful your abilities are, your only fate would be death. Ling Han shook his head and said, If you stop me, you will definitely die. Furthermore, you are completely unqualified to stop me. I could kill you with a single move. Lei Dong was so furious he laughed. Ling Han actually said that he could be killed with a single move? Where had his confidence come from? Previously, the abilities that Ling Han had shown were indeed very strong, but it had definitely not reached the extent that could destroy the heavens and earth. Fine then. I really want to see how you can kill me with a single move. Pooh! A human head soared into the skies. Lei Dong's head danced in the air. He still dared not believe it. He could see Ling Han was wielding a divine sword, the sword's blade not having the slightest bit of blood, and his headless body was presently falling down from the skies. It really was only a single move. He did not even manage to see how Ling Han had attacked with his sword. He merely felt a frightening pressure attack him, and his reaction speed had slowed slightly. Disregarding his will, he had not moved to dodge when he should have, and his defenses were completely ineffective as well. Boom! A destructive murderous aura forged into his murderous aura, and Lei Dong lost all his senses, heading towards death. Ling Han descended from the skies with a single step. At this moment, Lei Dong's body and head fell onto the ground. Pong, pong. Even when a heavenly body tier elite died, he still possessed terrifying might. The impact of his body and head caused the ground to shake violently as if an earthquake was happening. Everyone's eyes were popping out in their extreme shock. Though they were not able to fly, they could clearly see the battle commencing in the skies, including the interference of the Eternity Sky Emperor through the totem, as well as the issuing of the Heaven execution order. Then, Ling Han suddenly showed his might, and killed Lei Dong with a single strike. On Joint Peace Planet, Heavenly Body Tier were the supreme rulers, and the huge matter of a ruler dying would only happen in who knew how many years, and now it actually happened right in front of their eyes. With a single sword strike. Hiss, what kind of freak was this? The 10 tigers of the Wang clan were scared witless. They really wanted to faint. Chapter 1398, Yield. 1398 Yield. Ling Han stood proudly and said, If there is anyone who wants to kill me, just come. I will be here for half a day's time. He still had to wait for Heavenly Phoenix Divine Maiden and Ding Ping, so he temporarily would not be able to leave. All the people of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire felt their faces twitching. A great many felt incredibly angered. An elite from an opposing nation came into their territory and still dared to strut around boldly like this? But there were also some who admired Ling Han. The Eternity Sky Emperor had already issued the Heaven Execution Order, yet Ling Han actually dared to still stay here. He was really courageous. After a day had passed, the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Maiden and Ding Ping came back one after the other. One had broken through to the Heavenly Body tier, whereas the other had advanced into the Sun Moon tier, which added two powerful helpers to Ling Han's side. Let's go. They moved to leave, and the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Maiden and Ding Ping very soon found out that their group was being hunted down. Naturally, they were uncaring of the fact too. Putting aside the fact that they still had the military strength of two Heavenly Body tiers on their side, if each of them threw out a handful of flying fire pills, that was enough to cause great trouble for their pursuers. They left calmly and did not deliberately rush on their way. That was because they still had a good number that were still in the Mountain River tier, so their speed naturally could not possibly be too fast. Thus, after only a single day, a Heavenly Body tier elite had caught up with them. This was an elite in the low extreme of the Heavenly Body tier. He was the first to catch up to them, not because his speed was the fastest, but rather because he just happened to be in the vicinity. Hence, he was the first to catch up to them. He did not dare make a move. Putting aside the fact that the opposing side had two great Heavenly Body tier elites, one of them was in the medium extreme, much stronger than him. How could he dare to make a move? This was the smart move. If he knew that Lei Dong, who was at the peak stage of the medium extreme of the Heavenly Body tier, had been killed with a single strike from Ling Han, he would definitely be extremely glad that he had made this choice. Another half a day later, more Heavenly Body tier elites had arrived. One of them was much stronger than the rest and was in the early stage of the high extreme. Hence, the moment he appeared, he moved. He stretched out a large hand that formed into a gigantic demonic palm that could suppress the heaven and earth with his strength. Too bad. Ling Han had already killed an elite of the high extreme of the Heavenly Body tier before, so how could he possibly shrink back? Wielding his sword, he moved. The heavens might showed itself, and he killed this elite with his sword in a few moves. He cast an eye at where another Heavenly Body tier elite was, and then descended from the skies. He did not move further. That Heavenly Body tier elite was completely ashen with fear. That was an existence of the high extreme of the Heavenly Body tier. Though he had just advanced at this level, he was a whole minor tier superior to Ling Han. With a gap of 4 stars and power of the nation, he still was no match for Ling Han. His heart beat fiercely. Thankfully, Ling Han had not moved against him, or his death would have been definite. Gritting his teeth, he turned and left. This kind of freak was absolutely no one he could match. In any case, he had already come and done his best. It was impossible that he could hunt down someone and lose his life for it in the process. A day later, more elites appeared. This time, there was someone in the peak stage of the high extreme of the Heavenly Body tier, and he was also a 3-star genius. He battled fiercely with Ling Han. This time, under the condition that Ling Han did not use the Tide of the Ages, he could only fight him to a tie. As time was drawn out, more Heavenly Body tier elites arrived and joined in the battle. Ling Han was unafraid. His physique was invincible, and no matter how many elites of this degree came, he did not fear them. When this number had reached as many as 7, Ling Han finally decided to use a deadly move. The moment he used Tide of the Ages, he was practically unstoppable. He could instantly age whatever attack came at him. This was too frightening. After a few moves, 3 of them had been killed, and the remaining 4 fled in panic. When this news spread out, the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire fell silent. No others came to hunt down Ling Han. If the elites of the consummate level of the Heavenly Body tier did not move out, who could do anything against him? However, the status of the elites of the consummate level of the Heavenly Body tier was too outstanding. He Eternity Sky Emperor had no way to order them around. Only if he could offer them a satisfactory price would he be able to make them move. This bargaining to and fro would definitely need a lot of time. Thus, Ling Han's group calmly exited the borders of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire and entered into the Chaotic Stars Majestic Empire. Now that they had arrived here, they did not have to further worry about being hunted down by the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire. If they did, Wouldn't that mean trying to start a war between their two majestic empires? Another few days later, they had arrived at the imperial capital. At first, Ling Han wanted to immediately see Empress Luan Xing, yet found out that the Empress had started cultivating in seclusion 2 days ago. All the national matters had been delegated to the authority of the left minister and right minister. Not only that, the 9 kings had also gone into seclusion with the Empress. Others might only think that this was a coincidence, but only Ling Han knew that Empress Luan Xing must have reached a turning point to break through to the pinnacle level of the heavenly body tier. Now, all her 9 doppelgangers had returned, and when she exited seclusion, she would be in the pinnacle level of the heavenly body tier. There was something similar about the 9 snake tribes' bloodline and mystical power and the body of 9 lives of Gu Daoyi. But Gu Daoyi's methods were obviously grander. Using his 9 lives as foundations, he grew out the divine womb for his 10th life. Probably even some prodigies of the celestial realm wouldn't be a match for him. Since that is the case, let us return to the Great Ling Empire. Because it was their first time here for a lot of them, they decided to stop over for a few days so that the heavenly Phoenix Divine Maiden and the others could experience the scenery here. Additionally, Ling Han also had to make a trip to the Scarlet Heaven Academy and deliver the highest Jade Essence Heart to Old Man Su. After touring a day, they entered into a restaurant. They ordered 2 tables worth of dishes and began to eat. Though the overall level of cultivation of the Cloud Apex planet was higher, due to the presence of the 2-realm battlefield, demonic beasts and humans were standing on the same side. They could not be killed for food. This place was different, though. In the case of demonic beasts, if you wanted to eat them and had the ability to eat them, then go right ahead. There was fine food made from the meat of demonic beasts in the restaurant. Everyone was feeling ravenous, so they ordered quite a number of dishes and had themselves a fine feast. Knock, knock, knock. Not too long later, a knock sounded on the door of the private room. Subsequently, a waiter pushed open the doors and walked in, showing a troubled expression. "Could you all switch to another place?" "Why?" Ling Han asked. He did not have the habit of using his authority to bully others, but would not remain silent either if anyone dared to attempt to kick him around. The waiter hesitated, then finally said, "2 esteemed guests have arrived, but all the private rooms are occupied. So I wanted to ask you all to be a bit flexible. The shopkeeper has said that we can exempt the bill for one of the tables." "Pa!" The old ginseng immediately slapped a hand on the table and said, "You see that we are foreigners and think that we are easily pushed around, is it? Go, call your shopkeeper here. Grandpa Ginseng will burst his balls." Ling Han did not speak, but he did not stop the old ginseng either. Since he did not stop him, it was equivalent to a tacit agreement and indulgence. When the old ginseng saw this, he was naturally filled with confidence. In this galaxy, Ling Han might not be considered invincible, but there was really no need for him to fear anyone. The waiter was very gloomy. A ginseng actually pointed a finger at his nose and scolded him. If Ling Han and the others were not here, he really would want to put this precious ginseng in the pot and make a stew out of it. But now he could only be humble and said, "I am really sorry, everyone. How about this? The restaurant will exempt your bill completely. Consider it as an apology from us." He had received instructions. If they could solve this matter by exempting the bill for one table, that was naturally the best. However, they could also exempt the bill for both tables when there was no other alternative. What was most important was the private room. It definitely had to be freed. Those 2 esteemed guests were too high in status and could not be offended in the slightest. Chapter 1399, Meeting Xiang Chengyun again. 1399 Meeting Xiang Chengyun again. The waiter endlessly apologized, but at the same time also threatened them indistinctly. He emphasized how noble the 2 esteemed guests were in status, and that they were definitely people that Ling Han and his group could not afford to offend. The old ginseng, Rabbit, and the others were not the type to take a loss, and added with the fact that Zhang Yefeng and the others were also young and rash, they naturally would not easily accept being chased out. They all smacked the table in challenge, exclaiming they wanted to see who these 2 people were and see how truly esteemed they were. "Is the room still not cleared yet?" A voice rang out, containing incredible arrogance. It sounded familiar. A thought suddenly flashed in Ling Han's heart. Wasn't this Chengyun? Previously, when he had come through opening the sky, it was Chengyun who had come by the will of the left minister and taken the great Ling Empire in as one of the subordinate nations under the chaotic star's majestic empire. At the beginning, their relations were not too bad, but as Ling Han gradually became more and more successful, Chengyun felt jealous of his success, and the two of them naturally became distant. Especially when it was after the left minister warned Ling Han not to be too close with Li Weiwei. Chengyun naturally followed the footsteps of the left minister closely and completely drew a clear dividing line between himself and Ling Han as if they were absolute strangers. Subsequently, Ling Han went to Flying Cloud Planet and did not see Chengyun again. So many years had passed since their separation. Actually, it had not been that many years. In the immortal realm, the time of more than 10 years would pass like the blink of an eye, so Chengyun naturally would not change that much. As a popular person at the side of the left minister, especially when the two ministers had full control of the imperial court at present, Chengyun's self-confidence was naturally booming. Lord Xiang, please wait for a moment. I will immediately clear the private room. The waiter was covered in cold sweat. At present, he could offend anyone but Chengyun. Putting aside the fact that he was just a minor character, even Sun-Moon tier-level forces would collapse easily if Chengyun spoke badly of them in front of the left minister. Humph, what kind of people are they to actually procrastinate so much? How insolent. Another voice rang out. They saw that a young man had barged in. He had just broken through to the mountain river tier, but the arrogance in his expression was very heavy, as if the heavens were the boss and he was the second most powerful after the heavens themselves. He saw that there were not just humans inside the private room. There was also a rabbit and a ginseng that were sitting high up like lords. Involuntarily, a muscle twitched in his cheek. Demonic beasts were commonly seen, but this was a little beyond common sense to see them act so boldly in the imperial capital of human cultivators like this. Furthermore, the three women here were all very beautiful. One was sweet and naive, one was mature and shapely, and the last was even more attractive. She was as beautiful as a fairy, her beauty incomparable. She was practically like the legendary empress, who could cause one to lose his spirit with a single look. But the heavenly phoenix divine maiden was not Empress Luanxing, after all. Thus, the young man soon came back to himself and proudly asked, "Who are you all?" As he spoke, Chengyun had also walked into the private room, but due to the angle he was standing at, he did not see Ling Han. Furthermore, because Ling Han's cultivation level was too high, his aura reserved, he completely could not tell how strong Ling Han was. Of course, no matter how hard he thought, he could not possibly think that this was Ling Han, and that he had furthermore advanced into the heavenly body tier. He could easily send even the Lord Left Minister flying with a single smack. His bearing was arrogant. Though there was not the slightest bit of change in his official position, the Left Minister presently had control of half the authority of the empire, so his status naturally increased innumerable times, and he appeared even more arrogant and prouder. He could obviously tell that there were a few people here whose auras had unfathomable depths, yet he still did not take them to heart. There were only those few heavenly body tiers in the entire chaotic star's majestic empire, so these few people definitely could not be such types of elites. At most, they should only be in the Sun-Moon tier. If they were only in the Sun-Moon tier, what did he have to fear? Not only did he not fear them, this kind of existence would even have to turn around to curry his favor. For example, the young man that was treating him to wine today was the prodigy of the Lu clan, a Sun-Moon tier-level force, Lu Yujing. He was playing the matchmaker this time, and there was an intention to betroth the beloved daughter of the Lu clan to him. It should be known that this beloved daughter of the Lu clan had been very much in the limelight these few years, and had become one of the 4 great beauties of the imperial capital, replacing Li Weiwei and the others who asked them to have advanced into the mountain river tier. The new generation would replace the older generation. It had always been that way in history. At first, Chengyun had some designs on Li Weiwei, but he had self-awareness. In the eyes of the left minister, he was only a useful, obedient dog. How could he be qualified to marry Li Weiwei? Thus, he had long since given up, and had also seen that beloved daughter of the Liu clan before. She was indeed enchantingly beautiful, definitely not inferior to Li Weiwei. Furthermore, the Liu clan also had an ancestor in the consummate level of the Sun-Moon tier, so it could be considered a first-rate clan. If he could become the son-in-law of the Liu clan, there would be many gains for Xiang Chengyun. Additionally, the Liu clan could also forge a good relationship with the left minister through him. Thus, the two sides naturally hit it off. At present, Xiang Chengyun's pride had already soared to the skies. As long as it was not the right minister or the 7 generals, he feared no one. Even if the ancestor in the consummate level of the Sun-Moon tier came, he still dared to point at the former's nose and scold him. Thus, he simply allowed Liu Yujing to act out. Moreover, he was also very displeased himself. A very popular person by the side of the left minister himself had come for some wine, and his request to have a private room had actually been delayed for so long. What was left of his pride? The old ginseng slapped the table and said, "Fuck you." Liu Yujing was furious. Why was this treasured ginseng such a ruffian? If he did not cook it and devour it, it would not be enough to vent his fury. You can all get lost, but you must leave this treasured ginseng behind. We want to cook it into a stew, he declared malevolently. Furthermore, he was indeed tempted as well. A treasured ginseng that had gained its own consciousness could cultivate on its own, so its medicinal effects would be far stronger than those of other godly medicines in the same level. It could even be used to extend one's lifespan. For cultivators, there was nothing more important than lifespan. A longer life meant that the chances of ascending to a higher peak in the path of cultivation would be higher. You actually want to eat your grandpa ginseng, you're still 100,000 years too early. It's more likely you'd be drinking my feet washing water. The old ginseng jumped onto Ding Ping's shoulder and commanded, "Brat Ding, go." He knew that Ding Ping was the strongest at present among Ling Han's disciples, so he naturally had to cling to him. Ding Ping's character was calm, not bloodthirsty and rash like Zhu Yao's, not as flashy as Jiang Yefeng's, and not as inflexible as Chun Ruijing's. Either there was no need to mention Yun Yongwang and Kang Xiuan. Both of them focused mainly on alchemy, and martial arts was merely their side occupation. He darkly declared, "We still have to eat. Please leave. After we finish eating, we will naturally leave." These words could be claimed to be neither servile nor overbearing, and were reasonable and justified. We were here first, and it was naturally first come first serve for a business. "Great, you're quite bold." Liu Yojing's expression turned cold, but he did not make a move. He could also tell that Ding Ping and his group were very powerful. At least their cultivation level was much higher than his, so he directly declared his backer as he said, "Could it be that you all have never heard of Brother Xiang's identity? He is the most popular person by the side of the Lord Left Minister." As he spoke, he was very pleased with himself. Even Xiang Chengyun couldn't help but stand up straighter, while his eyes paused on the beautiful face of the heavenly phoenix divine maiden, his expression extremely stunned by her beauty. In the imperial capital, only the empress was more beautiful than this woman. Shui Yinyu could match her in beauty, though. It was too bad that this woman had gone missing after the majestic heaven sect had been mysteriously destroyed. According to theories, she should have long since died. His overwhelming confidence caused him to be considerably braver, evil intentions surging up in his heart. Chapter 1400. Refusing to accept face. Chapter 1400. Refusing to accept face. Since Liu Yujing had called out Xiang Chengyun's name, Ling Han could not pretend that he had not realized the latter was there any longer. Hence, he spoke up. "So it is Brother Xiang." Actually, with Ling Han's present abilities, even if it was the left minister himself who had come, he could still treat him as an equal. The left minister might even have to turn around and call him Brother Ling instead. Apparently, the left minister was only in the low extreme of the heavenly body tier. This gap of a minor level was equivalent to the gap between the heaven and earth. However, Ling Han was a nostalgic person. When he had first come to the chaotic star's majestic empire, Xiang Chengyun had spoken of a lot of matters to him, and had done him the favor of providing him guidance. They had also had a mostly amiable relationship, so Ling Han had to admit that he recognized the fact that he owed Xiang Chengyun a favor. Ling Han. When Xiang Chengyun saw Ling Han, his eyes widened involuntarily. In the chaotic star's majestic empire, especially in the imperial capital, Ling Han was a legendary character. The empress had issued an imperial decree for him twice. His honor was boundless. He had plucked Shui Yinyu, this supremely beautiful flower, and engendered the envy of who knew how many men in the imperial capital so much that they wanted to kill him. Especially when he came into conflict with Zhao Luan. He dared to even offend the 7 generals. How awesome was this guy? Too bad, the left minister did not like him. Xiang Chengyun naturally adopted the left minister's likes and dislikes as his own standard, and together with his own jealousy, he became more and more distant with Ling Han. In the end, the both of them had become practically strangers to one another. Very soon, Ling Han vanished mysteriously. Occasionally, Xiang Chengyun would recall this prodigy that had once shone so brightly, but he would soon put the thought to the back of his mind. But now, Ling Han had actually reappeared. Where had he been all these years? These thoughts merely flashed through Xiang Chengyun's mind in an instant before vanishing, and his bearing was still as proud as he had been. This was not the past. At present, the left minister had great authority in his grasp, and he had the name of Little Left Minister, even if he was in the Mountain River tier. So what? Even the ancestor of the consummate level of the Sun Moon tier would have to be polite to him, and dared not offend him in the slightest. So what would Ling Han count as? What this world lacked the least was prodigies. He looked at the heavenly phoenix divine maiden, and felt very upset. In the past, it had been Shui Yinyu, and now it was this extremely beautiful woman whose beauty was not the slightest bit inferior to the former. Why did Ling Han have such good luck with women? Ling Han smiled faintly and said, "Since it is Brother Xiang, then let us give way." Feng Piyun and the others were all astonished. Ling Han was not the type to suffer in silence, so why had he chosen to yield? However, they respected Ling Han's decision. None of them objected, and all of them stood up. Ling Han naturally did not fear Xiang Chengyun or the left minister, but rather did so purely because he owed Xiang Chengyun a favor, and since it could let a heavenly body tier leader rather 2 heavenly body tier elites let them have the private room, this favor was naturally colossal. And from the moment that Ling Han stood up, the friendship between the two of them had also come to an end. Xiang Chengyun was filled with envy again. Ling Han was obviously very ordinary, but there was no shortage of the Sun Moon tier elites who even obeyed his every command by his side. Just look, he told them to give way, and they did. They didn't even say another word in objection. Of course, it could also be possible that these people were wary of his identity. After all, he was a popular person by the side of the left minister, so what was a Sun Moon tier worth? With these thoughts, his courage naturally increased even further. The evil intentions that he had long since borne had also gotten out of hand, and he said, "This miss is not bad, so why don't you stay and share some wine with us?" The expressions of Chen Ruijing and the other senior disciples changed drastically. Fuck, he actually dared to insult their missus. In their heads, their first priority was the missus, and the master was second. Dingping and Jiuyao were also filled with killing intent in an instant. They were not filled with as much respect for the heavenly phoenix divine maiden as Chen Ruijing and the others, but insulting the missus was equivalent to insulting the master, so how could they not be enraged? But none of them made a move, and they were waiting to see what Ling Han's decision would be. "He, Brother Xiang asked you to stay, so that is the good fortune that you have accumulated over 3 lives. Quickly thank Brother Xiang." Lu Yujing quickly shouted at the heavenly phoenix divine maiden, salivating internally. He, too, desired such an exquisite beauty. Ling Han's eyes froze over. Pa! With a wave of his hand, he sent Lu Yujing flying out. Pong! There was instantly a human-shaped hole in the wall. Lu Yujing had already collapsed on the streets, his body in the form of the Chinese character Da. "Ling Han, how dare you? You actually dare to cause injury in the imperial capital itself." Xiang Chengyun could not help but break out in a cold sweat. He had suddenly recalled that Ling Han was outrageously bold. He even dared to offend greatly the only son of the great General Zhao. In comparison, what was a popular person by the side of the left minister worth? Was a dog as important as a son? He shuddered and broke out in a cold sweat. So much for the thoughtfulness I gave you. Ling Han waved another palm and Xiang Chengyun was also sent flying out. There was a second human-shaped hole on the wall, and Xiang Chengyun also fell next to Lu Yujing on the streets below. This scene was a little humorous, and those nearby all bore strange expressions. Some couldn't help laughing out loud, but when they found out that these two people were Xiang Chengyun and Lu Yujing, naturally all of them turned pale in fear. They hurriedly broke into a run and fled. This would soon become the place of a battle. They should not stay too long here. Ling Han grinned and said, "Since the flies have flown off, let's continue eating."
Yes.
Everyone nodded. Ling Han related that bit of relations he shared with Xiang Chengyun, and everyone nodded. With Ling Han's current status, he took a step back, yet Xiang Chengyun still acted overbearing, so it was his own fault for seeking his own embarrassment. Ling Han had hidden his cultivation level? What a joke. Why did he have to tell him his cultivation level? Was he duty-bound to do so? If he truly thought of him as a friend, then no matter if he was weak or strong, they would be still friends. So why would there have to be a restrictive condition? On the streets, both Xiang Chengyun and Lu Yujing slowly got back to their feet. Their faces had turned red and swollen from the impact. The two looked at one another and revealed a powerful hatred. No, this matter could not end just like this. "Brother Xiang, let's go back and get reinforcements," Lu Yujing said ferociously. "Let's go." Xiang Chengyun was also crazed with rage. As a popular person by the side of the left minister, if he could not avenge himself after taking such a great loss, he wouldn't be able to hold his face up in the imperial capital in future. However, the left minister was not his father, and was not his servant, either. How could he possibly be moved just because he had been beaten? Thus, they first went to the Lu clan. There was nothing, except for matters that involved those top-rate forces of the heavenly body tier, that the Lu clan, as a top-rate force among Sun-Moon tiers, could not resolve. The duo arrived at the Lu clan residence. When they found out that Xiang Chengyun had been beaten, even the ancestor of the Lu clan was alerted. He personally instructed his eldest son to go and apprehend Ling Han's group so they could be severely punished. The eldest son of the Lu clan was named Chengfeng. He had just crossed over into the consummate level of the Sun-Moon tier, and was also a top-notch existence among elites. With him moving out, the matter would assuredly be resolved. Xiang Chengyun was also very satisfied, except for the fact that his future fiancée had seen the sorry look he was portraying now, which was slightly displeasing. But it was all right. When she saw how he trampled on Ling Han's face later, he would regain all his pride and face. The group went off aggressively, and very soon charged to the restaurant. The group halted, and a young man from the Lu clan loudly shouted out, "Insolent maniac, get out here quickly, kneel down and accept your punishment." They had mobilized a total of 17 people from their clan, so there were quite a large number of them. Chapter 1401. Retreating 10 miles with a single punch. 1401 Retreating 10 miles with a single punch. "Master, leave it to me." Ding Ping asked permission to fight. "No, leave it to me," Zhu Yao argued. After he had lost to Ding Ping, he wanted to be better than Ding Ping, so he would fight over everything with Ding Ping. Ling Han ignored them. He merely sent a palm strike into the air, and the young man from the Lu clan, was immediately pressed into the ground, his body forming the Chinese character Da. A human-shaped hole immediately appeared in the floor that had been tiled with blue-green tiles like it was made of tofu. "How dare you?" Lu Chengfeng's eyes involuntarily froze over. He dared to commit violence even right in front of him. "Ling Han, this is the imperial capital," Xiang Chengyun declared icily. He had been thrown onto the ground in public, and this filled him with a cold, killing intent. His fury was definitely not something that could be vented just by giving Ling Han a beating. He wanted to kill Ling Han. The empire had its laws. It was forbidden to commit murder in the imperial capital. At least even the left and right ministers and the 7 generals had to adhere to this law in public. Only the 9 kings were exceptions to this rule. However, the 9 kings kept too low a profile and rarely even left their residence. He wanted to anger and force Ling Han to kill a few members of the Liu clan. Then he could deploy the imperial army and kill Ling Han. So what? Ling Han asked calmly. Putting aside his relations with Empress Luan Xing, merely based on his present abilities alone, he could come and go as he willed in the Eternity Sky majestic empire itself. There were really not many laws that he would take to heart. Unfortunately, the news from the Eternity Sky majestic empire had not spread over yet. Otherwise, Chengyun would never have dared to trifle with Ling Han like this. He was a bringer of misfortune, and he had always been one. Previously, it had only been because his cultivation level was not too high, so he only dared to trifle with the son of great General Zhao, but now his courage had increased by leaps and bounds. Ho ho, could it be that you dare commit murder? Chengyun asked coldly. This was naturally a provocation. Of course, he himself had hidden by the side of Liu Chengfeng. Even if the skies collapsed, wouldn't there always be someone taller holding it up? The noble daughter of the Liu clan saw this, and couldn't help but reveal an expression of disdain. No matter how ruthless you were with your words, you did not take any bit of responsibility. Was this even a man? Before this, she had only seen Xiang Chengyun's well-regarded face. This kind of Xiang Chengyun was very bright, and everyone would flatter him, but the fact that he would be so embarrassing when encountering the slightest predicament caused her to be greatly disappointed. Her positive opinion of him fell massively. Ling Han did not speak. Was there still any need for him to argue with a mountain river tear? He pressed down with a palm onto empty air, and Xiang Chengyun immediately could not bear the pressure. His legs weakened, and he was forced to kneel. The great amount of force caused the whole street to tremble lightly, and his bones broke and shattered instantly. Ah! Xiang Chengyun screamed terribly. This pain had gone bone deep. Liu Chengfeng's expression had completely frozen over. This man was too bold. He actually dared to make a move right in front of him. You're seeking death. He brandished a fist and shot out a punch at the restaurant. Let me. Ding Ping rushed out. Let me. Zhou was not about to give him the chance. The two of them moved at the same time. Pong, pong. Their attacks combined together. However, Ding Ping had just broken through into the Sun Moon tier, whereas Zhou was only in the peak stage of the Mountain River tier. Neither of them could possibly be a match for the consummate level of the Sun Moon tier. They were both instantly sent flying and became an arrow of blood in the air. Thankfully, they had all cultivated the 9 Dragons Tyrant body art. Though their physique was not as freakish as Ling Han's, they were still considerably sturdier than the average cultivator. Otherwise, with such a big difference in their cultivation levels, they would definitely be shattered into dust with a single move. Ignorance. Liu Chengfeng smirked coldly. In the immortal level, every gap of a sub-minor level meant a world of difference. What more when he was in the consummate level? The strongest of the two was only in the low extreme, and there was a whole gap of 3 sub-minor levels. But he was also slightly astonished. That young man in the low extreme was too young, and was absolutely younger than 500 years old. He had broken through into the Sun Moon tier before 500 years old. Only over a dozen people could match that kind of achievement in the whole history of the Chaotic Star's majestic empire. The most recent was definitely Zhao Luan, but he had only broken through into the Sun Moon tier when he had been 700 to 800 years old. Ling Han grabbed out at empty air and pulled back both Ding Ping and Zhou. He had his own judgment. His 2 disciples cooperating would mean that their lives were safe, at the very least. Otherwise, he would definitely have moved to stop them. You should also take a punch from me, Ling Han stated calmly, and shot out a punch. This punch looked to be very slow, but when it was delivered, it appeared in front of Liu Chengfeng, giving him a great shock. He hurriedly shot out a fist to parry this oncoming attack. Pong! The 2 fists collided. Liu Chengfeng was completely motionless, and he proudly declared, "Is that all?" He had yet to finish his words when his expression changed abruptly. He retreated 3 consecutive steps, and then finally stopped. He was just about to open his mouth to speak again, yet retreated another 3 steps again. He stopped, wanted to speak, and then went into a retreat again. And just like that, Lu Chengfeng stopped and retreated, stopped and retreated. He repeatedly tried to speak, but he could not do as he willed every time. At first, this was very funny, but after over a dozen times, no one else thought it was amusing. Instead, they all looked shocked and stunned. It was just a single punch. How could the force of the punch stay for such a long time? Furthermore, Lu Chengfeng was in the consummate level of the Sun-Moon tier. Chengyun forced himself to raise his head. He was filled with shock. Exactly what level had Ling Han reached? Previously, this guy was already a freak of cultivation, and while he had a late beginning, he had soon outstripped and exceeded even himself, who had started earlier than him. Now, not only had he advanced into the Sun-Moon tier, he had even reached the consummate level or even the utmost peak level. Otherwise, how could he possibly have sent Lu Chengfeng into an endless retreat with a single punch? Of course, no matter how Chengyun dared to imagine, he could not possibly imagine that Ling Han was in the heavenly body tier. This was too unreasonable. That was because he had seen with his own eyes that Ling Han had only been in the shattering void tier previously, and he could have easily killed him with a single palm strike. Lu Chengfeng continued to retreat, and the other members of the Lu clan naturally would not just sit idly by and watch. They followed him, whereas 2 of them helped Chengyun up. Each person held onto one of his arms and helped him flee in a sorry state. Meanwhile, the eyes of the noble daughter of the Lu clan shone brightly. She had also heard of the legend of Ling Han. She had never imagined that the legend would appear personally in front of her. Furthermore, he was even stronger than she had heard. Meanwhile, Lu Chengfeng continued to retreat and could not stop at all. He had broken through who knew how many walls and destroyed who knew how many buildings. Thankfully, the Lu clan was very wealthy, so they could still afford to pay this little bit of compensation. However, it was as if the eldest son of the Lu clan had gone mad. He did not crash into the street, but chose to crash into walls. Not only did he crash into walls, he did the crashing while he was going backwards. This quickly spread throughout the whole imperial capital. It continued all the way until he had retreated 10 miles away, at which point Lu Chengfeng finally collapsed and sat on the ground. The corner of his mouth twitched continuously. He felt that cold sweat had covered his whole body, all his hair standing on ends. Previously, he had really been unable to control himself. That feeling was too frightening. "Quick, go and find Ancestor," he exclaimed with a shudder. This Ling Han's abilities were too strong. It definitely had to be someone in the peak stage of the consummate level of the Sun-Moon tier that he would be able to suppress him. No. Perhaps that would only be an equal match for him and would not be able to suppress him. They hurriedly rushed back to the Lu clan residence. When he heard of what Lu Chengfeng had experienced, the ancestor of the Lu clan had a moment of slight hesitation. Was it worth it to start a fight with an elite in the peak stage of the consummate level of the Sun-Moon tier? But Chengyun immediately spoke up and placed pressure on him, so the ancestor of the Lu clan could only grit his teeth and bear it. To claim a connection to the left minister, there was a need to obtain the favor of Chengyun. He would have to throw caution to the wind. He personally moved. Leading more than half of the clansmen of the Lu clan, he headed to the restaurant. And the Lu clan moving out back and forth, especially when Lu Chengfeng had broken through 10 miles of walls, naturally alerted a great many people, who all rushed over to watch the excitement. Chapter 1402, Completely Stupefied. 1402, Completely Stupefied. Who was this? He dared to be so outrageously bold that he had even caused the ancestor of the Lu clan to come out. Ling Han? What? Ling Han's come back? Ling Han is still alive? When they knew that this culprit was Ling Han, everyone bore a strange expression. It was not new information that Ling Han was the type to cause trouble. He made an enemy of Sha Yuan and Zhao Luan, and dared to even offend 2 great generals in the heavenly body tier. So it was completely nothing unusual for him to now anger the ancestor of the Lu clan. However, this was an excitement they definitely had to see. The news spread like wildfire, and more people moved out, heading in this direction. And when the news reached the residence of the great General Xia, an endless killing intent surged out immediately, causing the surrounding area to become extraordinarily cold. Xia Yuan had died in Ling Han's hands, but great General Xia had not even managed to avenge his son when the majestic heaven sect had been destroyed, and Ling Han had also disappeared. All these years, great General Xia had thought that Ling Han was dead, but now he actually found out that Ling Han had come back alive, so it was natural that his killing intent would blaze. Though Xia Yuan was not the most outstanding of the great General Xia's sons, he was not someone that could be easily killed just like that, either. Xiao, the great General Xia, flew out. When a heavenly body tier was enraged, even the formation that protected the imperial capital trembled greatly. The left and right ministers and the remaining 6 great generals were also alerted. Of course, because the transmission of news was slightly slower, long before the great General Xia had moved out, the ancestor of the Liu clan had already led his clansmen and arrived at the restaurant. Ling Han, you'd better come out and accept your death, the juniors of the Liu clan called out loudly. At this time, Ling Han had already finished eating. He sat calmly on the upper floor, and he just happened to be clearly seen through one of the human-shaped holes. He waved a hand casually and those juniors each received a slap. They were all sent flying, all of them unconscious. This naturally was because Ling Han had gone easy on them. Otherwise, if a heavenly body tier moved, not just mountain river tiers would definitely not be able to survive it. Even sun-moon tiers would be obliterated in an instant. The ancestor of the Liu clan was furious, and he shouted, "Ling Han, you are too bold. You actually dare to humiliate my clansmen in front of me. Old man, if you continue to make noise, I'll beat you too," Ling Han stated calmly. Since things had reached this point, he decided to simply let go, and just let the trouble continue to its end. The ancestor of the Liu clan was so furious that he smiled instead. Not only had he lived to such an old age, he was also in existence in the peak stage of the consummate level of the sun-moon tier. How many were there in the whole chaotic star's majestic empire that could beat him? At most, there were only 20. It couldn't be helped. The chaotic star's majestic empire had been established for only a short time, and did not have much background. How could it be compared with the Eternity Sky and J-Drop majestic empires? Junior, come down. I really want to teach you what it means to respect your elders. The ancestor of the Liu clan, had not finished what he meant to say when his face had already severely been slapped. "Oh, what do you want to teach me?" Ling Han asked calmly. He had not even approached, and was still sitting high up on the upper floor of the restaurant. Then, he delivered another slap. The ancestor of the Liu clan had no way to resist at all, and was on the receiving end of repeated slaps. His face had immediately turned red and swelled. His teeth flew out one after another, blood covering his whole face. However, the physical pain was practically negligible. The ancestor of the Liu clan had already gone blank with shock. How could he only possibly be in the sun-moon tier if he could play with him as he liked like this? His heart trembled violently, and a realization that he could not believe at all surged up in his heart. Though he was absolutely unwilling to face it, the truth itself was slapping him in the face. A heavenly body tier elite. Ling Han was actually in the heavenly body tier. Heavens, for the sake of currying the favor of the dog of a great elite in the heavenly body tier, he actually went and offended another heavenly body tier. How stupid was that? But who could have imagined that the country bumpkin that had come from opening the sky those years ago had become a great elite of the heavenly body tier in an instant when just these few years had passed? No one could have possibly imagined that, and they would not dare to imagine such a possibility either. Not only was the ancestor of the Liu clan completely stupefied, all the others were gaping widely, yet could not emit the slightest sound. Heavenly body tier. This was definitely a heavenly body tier elite. Chengyun was about to cry. If you had advanced into the heavenly body tier, you should have said so. After becoming this kind of elite, he dared not even have the slightest bit of envy. Even if the left minister himself had arrived, he would have to treat him respectfully. He had offended a great elite of the heavenly body tier, so the left minister would definitely turn his back on him. What kind of eyes did he have? How could he possibly do the jobs that he had been assigned well with such poor insight? A great elite of the heavenly body tier. The beautiful eyes of the noble daughter of the Liu clan shone brightly. This was the kind of husband that she dreamt of. There was a dead silence. Only the sound of the continuous slaps that the ancestor of the Liu clan was receiving could be heard, appearing very sharp to the ear. More importantly, a sun-moon tier was strong, especially when they were defended by origin power, so their skin was naturally thicker and stronger than even the city walls, so there was a very powerful impact when it was being slapped. The well-known figures of the younger generation all arrived. There was Li Weiwei, Ji as well as Luoba, Linyu, Ma Xing, and Cheng Haofei, and Zhao Luan had arrived as well. His face was completely dark, shock and terror filling his eyes. Ling Han had actually advanced into the heavenly body tier. Just think, at that time, he had repeatedly insulted Ling Han, and had even wanted to kill the latter. All this was because he had a father in the heavenly body tier standing behind him, which caused him to do as he liked and act without any scruples. But now? Ling Han had become a heavenly body tier, and now it was Ling Han's turn to act without any scruples. Even if he killed him, what of it? Could a great elite of heavenly body tier be insulted? What a joke. Ling Han, you've come back? Li Weiwei called out loudly. You meanie, I thought you had died. Ling Han withdrew his hand with a smile and said, long time no see. Previously, he had cooperated with Li Weiwei and Ji for business, and they could be claimed to have had a very cheerful partnership. The heavenly phoenix divine maiden immediately gave a humph and asked, which girlfriend is this of yours again? Why have I never heard you talk about her? Meanwhile, Chen Ruijing and the others snickered secretly on the side. They could be claimed to know the temperament of this missus of theirs very well. Her character was unyielding, and she was not prepared to turn a blind eye on anything objectionable. Humph! A heavy pressure suddenly approached, causing everyone's hearts to be filled with a powerful fear. It was as if in the time for a mere thought, this place would become a bloodbath. Not a single person would be able to remain alive. A figure appeared, his whole body enshrouded in a chaotic aura, though it was not very dense. His appearance was still visible. He was completely dressed in military attire, had a square face, his appearance majestic, and exuded an aura of dignity and imperiousness. Sha Jing, the great General Sha, Xiao, another incredibly powerful being appeared. Zhao Jinbai, the great General Zhao. Quickly, a third elite appeared. He was dressed in scholarly attire and appeared very clean-cut and quiet. The left minister, Li Cheng. 3 great elites of the heavenly body tier had arrived all at once. This was the strongest level of power of Joint Peace Planet. Though these 3 people had not reached the consummate level, since they had advanced into this cultivation tier, they had the qualification of being a small world by themselves. The left minister looked at Ling Han. His initially unruffled, assured expression immediately disappeared completely. Ling Han. It was actually Ling Han. This guy had actually advanced into the heavenly body tier, and had done it so quickly at that. He knew that Ling Han's natural talent in cultivation was astonishing, but he had thought that even if Ling Han's fortune was nature-defying, he would need at least 1 to 2 million years to be able to step into this cultivation level, and there were too many things that could happen in these 1 to 2 million years. Ling Han himself was also an extreme and troublemaking character as well. Thus, the left minister had been unwilling to allow his beloved daughter be too close to Ling Han. Yet he had never imagined this. The left minister felt his face flushing hotly as if he had just been slapped harshly. What poor vision had he had? Chapter 1403, Another Heavenly Body Tier. 1403, Another Heavenly Body Tier. Ling Han, you killed my son, and today is the day I will make you compensate with your life. Sha Jing stated coldly. He could not tell Ling Han's cultivation level, but was still unafraid as he thought their cultivation levels were equal. However, just how many years had Ling Han cultivated? Could he be a match for him? They were both in the low extreme of the heavenly body tier, and he was confident that he could easily suppress Ling Han. He had to avenge the murder of his son, and as a great general, he naturally had special privileges, and as he had declared that it was to avenge the murder of his son, it could be considered absolutely justified, so he dared to commit murder fully in public in the imperial capital. Your son, Sha Yuan, attempted to kill me repeatedly. I killed him, but I have a clear conscience, Ling Han stated calmly. If you are dissatisfied about it, then I accept your challenge. Then die. As Sha Jing's origin power boiled, his aura as a heavenly body tier rolled out in an incredibly frightening manner. This was a suppression on the level of being, causing everyone in the proximity to collapse onto the ground. Only a few were exceptions, such as Zhao Luan. He naturally had the protection of the great General Zhao, just like Li Weiwei had the protection of the left minister. On Ling Han's side, there was naturally no issue with his and the heavenly Phoenix Divine Maiden's protection. Hold on. Ling Han waved a hand, his eyes sweeping over the left minister, Sha Jing, and Zhao Jianbai. Then, he said, when I was at the majestic heaven sect, I had once been hunted down by someone, and my starship was destroyed. The culprit should be one of you, right? At the time, there were only those few heavenly body tiers that he had met, and Empress Luan Xing and Chu Choshua did not have the motive to do this. Yet the remaining three were suspects, especially Sha Jing and Zhao Jianbai. Humph, were you worthy of me making a move on you at the time? Sha Jing immediately retorted in disdain. Zhao Jianbai and the left minister also disdained from answering. They conducted themselves with dignity, so it was naturally impossible that they would answer whatever questions was asked of them. Ling Han looked confused. At the time, he had remembered the aura of the person who had ambushed him, but it was different from these three. This was also why he had asked directly. Perhaps, at that time, the person who ambushed him had deliberately changed his aura. With the abilities of the heavenly body tier, it was completely possible to have fooled the Ling Han of that time. But the problem was, the person who ambushed him at that time should have been completely capable of killing him directly, so why had he done something so unnecessary? Humph, even if you try to delay, no one will be able to save you. Sha Jing uttered coldly. He wanted to avenge the death of his son. Wait. The left minister stretched out an arm to block him. Brother Sha, Ling Han is a member of our chaotic star's majestic empire, and he has already advanced into the heavenly body tier at present, which is a great fortune of our empire. How could we fight amongst our own people? He killed my son, and you still want me to have a peaceful relationship with him? Sha Jing smirked coldly. This was really the greatest joke in the world. The left minister had decided he wanted to mend the relations between himself and Ling Han. He had broken through to the heavenly body tier at such a young age, so his future prospects would definitely be boundless. He had already made a mistake and had no intention of making another. Brother Sha, I am the left minister of our empire. Before Her Majesty went into isolation, she has delegated the important matters of state to myself, and Brother Du, the left minister, brought Empress Luan Xing into the matter. This was a powerful weapon that could suppress everything else. True enough, Sha Jing looked slightly wary. The reign of Empress Luan Xing was extremely strict. Previously, she had already killed one of the great generals personally. If he deliberately disobeyed her and was called for an accounting later on, then even if he was a great elite of heavenly body tier, a great general of the empire, so what? Brotherly, is Brother Sha's son not a citizen of our empire? Zhao Jinbai interrupted. This man is only a subject of the empire, yet dared to kill the son of a great general of our empire. If this is not severely punished, how could that be reasonable? That's right. Sha Jing immediately regained his resolution, not only due to Zhao Jinbai's argument, but also because the latter had made his position clear was siding with him. Brotherly, you should cooperate with us to suppress this violent criminal together, Zhao Jinbai persuaded. Even if Ling Han had just broken through into the heavenly body tier, they were all in the low extreme. If Ling Han put his life on the line to fight them, it would not be easily dealt with either. If three heavenly body tiers joined forces, their chances of safety was naturally greatly increased. The left minister couldn't help but be stuck in a dilemma. He wanted to protect Ling Han, but if it would lead him to become hostile with two great generals, he'd hesitate. Was it worth it? At present, though he had great authority, he still shared the rule with the right minister, and also because the 7 generals had not expressed their stand, the 2 ministers were equal in power. But if Zhao Jianbai and Sha Jing sided with the right minister, he would definitely be suppressed by the right minister. To offend 2 heavenly body tiers for the sake of one, it was not a worthy bargain. He thought for a moment. Then, with a wave of his sleeve, he said, "Since you have a personal grudge with him, you settle the grudge yourselves. I will not interfere." "Father!" Li Weiwei immediately jumped up. He said he would not interfere, but in truth, wouldn't that mean that he would allow them to do as they liked? Yet the left minister expression was solemn, and he gave his daughter an imposing look. This daughter really gave him too many worries. It was time for him to seek a husband for her. She should become more reserved after she had become someone's wife. Though Zhao Jinbai and Sha Jing were not too satisfied, the left minister had clearly stated he would not interfere. That was not too bad either. At least they had one less very powerful barrier they would have to overcome. The both of them were experienced great elites of the heavenly body tier, and Ling Han had just barely broken through. How could it be that they couldn't deal with him easily with the 2 of them working together? Ling Han, you'd better kneel down and accept your punishment. As a subject, you deliberately disobeyed the law. Do you plan to have the great Ling Empire die for your sake? Zhao Jinbai exerted pressure on Ling Han using the name of righteousness. I'll go. The heavenly phoenix divine maiden stood up. She had just advanced into the heavenly body tier, and just happened to want a chance to test out her abilities. All right, Ling Han nodded. With him supporting her from the background, it should be fine. The heavenly phoenix divine maiden sent out a palm strike, and the whole wall was sent flying. She took a step out, her figure standing in midair. What? Seeing this scene, everyone had gone numb with shock. Without any external tool, being capable of standing in midair, this was heavenly body tier. Wang, there was actually another great elite of heavenly body tier by Ling Han's side. Now, it was 2 against 2, so it was really not easy to judge which side was stronger. Xiang Chengyun was both jealous and terrified. Why? Why was it that a boor from a small world could exceed himself in cultivation level? Why could he obtain the hearts of so many supreme beauties? And now, it was even more exaggerated. He actually had a female companion in the heavenly body tier. Yet he actually said that he wanted this female elite to stay behind and join him for some wine. Wasn't that courting death? Sha Jing and Zhao Jianbai all looked serious. Even though the heavenly phoenix divine maiden's aura was very unsteady, and they could tell with a single glance that she had just broken through to the heavenly body tier, anyone who had advanced into this cultivation level definitely could not be underestimated. After all, they themselves were also only in the peak stage of the low extreme. Miss, this matter is unrelated to you, so what need is there for you to interfere? Sha Jing decided to first attempt to drive a wedge between them. The heavenly phoenix divine maiden stood up highly, a pair of phoenix's wings opening behind her back. Each wing was as long as 1,000 miles. They fluttered lightly, and there were red clouds dancing around them. She opened her mouth and stated, "Ling Han is my husband." When these words were said, it had directly put a block on whatever Sha Jing had wanted to say afterwards. He wanted to avenge his son, so how could it be that he would not allow her to step out for her husband? Even he was envious at that. That was because even though he was also a great elite of the heavenly body tier, it was obviously impossibly that he could marry a woman in the heavenly body tier as his wife as well, so how could he not be envious? Since that is the case, we can only meet on the battlefield. He drew out a saber. That was a treasured tool that had accompanied him for innumerable years on the battlefield, and he had long since refined it that they were mentally connected. Chapter 1404, Killed with a Single Slash. 1404 Killed with a Single Slash. The heavenly phoenix divine maiden dared not underestimate him. She had advanced into the heavenly body tier from the pinnacle level of the sun-moon tier, so her power could surpass more than 5 stars, but less than 6 stars. However, according to rumors, the 7 generals and left and right ministers were all 4-star geniuses, and added with the cultivation level of the peak stage of the low extreme and the boost from power of the nation, there should be a 2 to 3 star gap of power between the both of them. This was not a small gap. However, the heavenly phoenix divine maiden's bloodline was special. She possessed the power of a true phoenix, which could greatly increase her battle prowess. Furthermore, she had also learnt some secret techniques from Ling Han, and all these factors added together should grant her a further increase of 1 star of battle prowess. Thus, the gap between the battle prowess of both sides should be about 1 to 2 stars, so this fight would be worth fighting. Sha Jing gave a loud shout, and the divine patterns on the precious saber glowed one after another with his full power. An air of military might channeled out, soaring to the skies and sinking underground in a very terrifying manner. He was not a super genius, but if it was in mere terms of the numbers he had killed, he could possibly surpass such young king tiers like Ling Han and Qi Huangji. The bloodshed that he had experienced had condensed into an air of slaughter that had taken form. Those with a slightly weaker temperament would crumple with a single touch. We go up for the battle. Sha Jing shot up into the skies, like a shooting star that had swept past, which was going against its natural direction. The heavenly phoenix divine maiden naturally would not fear a battle. The wings on her back shook, and she similarly flew up into the skies. Boom! Neither of the two great elites spoke another word. They immediately went into battle positions and began to fight. Shock waves descended one after another, but they were blocked by the protective formation of the imperial capital, and the great commander of the imperial guards, Chu Qiushue, also stood above the imperial capital. She raised her head to look at the skies, an expression of surprise on her face. When had there appeared another female great elite of the heavenly body tier in the chaotic star's majestic empire? Furthermore, though she had just stepped into the heavenly body tier, her battle prowess was incredibly astonishing. Though she was not an equal match for Sha Jing, she did not experience too much of a loss either. She advanced and retreated accordingly, not showing any sign of losing. Unfortunately, she was on duty, so she did not fly up into the skies to watch the battle. Yet, she still felt a burning curiosity. Where had this woman come from? Father! Zhao Luan called out softly, a disappointed expression as well as a frightening, killing intent flashing through his eyes. Zhao Jianbai glanced at his son and couldn't help but give a humph. He knew what his son was trying to say. He wanted him to kill Ling Han. He was really too childish. Ling Han could advance into the heavenly body tier, so could it be that you couldn't do the same? The moment he was in a dilemma, he would ask this father of his for help. Did Ling Han have a father in the heavenly body tier? He did not yet. He had still broken through to the heavenly body tier so quickly on his own. Hence, one would still have to depend on oneself. Zhao Jianbai sighed. Who asked him to have only a single son? Who was he going to help if not him? Ling Han, we go up to the skies and fight, he spoke up, his voice like a battle song, resounding loudly. Ling Han sat calmly and asked, if I move, our empire will have one less elite. Are you sure you wish to seek your own death? This? Not just Zhao Jianbai. When everyone in the area heard this, which of them did not think that Ling Han was boasting too much? Zhao Jianbai was an experienced elite of the heavenly body tier and had immersed himself in this cultivation level for innumerable years, so how could he be matched by you, a rookie who had just advanced into this cultivation level? Furthermore, though all of them were subjects of the chaotic star's majestic empire and could draw upon power of the nation, their official rank was different, so the degree of power of the nation they could draw on was also different. He was just a minor 7th-rank military officer, so how could he compare to a grand great general? What a joke. Zhao Jianbai laughed from extreme anger. Brat, though it is indeed extraordinary that you have broken through to the heavenly body tier at such a young age, if you underestimate the great powers of this world just because of that, do you not think that is too arrogant? Come, we go up into the skies for the battle. You are still unable to claim yourself as one of the great powers of the world. Ling Han stated calmly. Since you want a battle, I will accommodate you. He drew that dilapidated wooden sword. Though this thing was only sturdy, It was more than enough to deal with a mere cultivator in the low extreme of the heavenly body tier. When Zhao Jinbai saw this, his expression involuntarily became livid. Was this a weapon? It looks more like a stick to poke the coals, and you use this to fight me. Just how much are you belittling me? Good, good, good. His face was livid. If I do not kill you here, then my surname is not Zhao. Ling Han took a step out, his right hand raising the wooden sword, and sent out a slash straight at Zhao Jinbai. It was extremely simple, merely a strike heading right at him. Zhao Jinbai was practically frothing blood in fury. At first, he used a battered sword to humiliate him, and now was just sending such a direct slash in such a disdainful manner at him. Did he think he was a weakling? Fine then, if you are so bold, that is your own fault for seeking death. His right hand shook, and a sword appeared in his grip, quickly stabbing at Ling Han's forehead, directly aiming for his spirit. What? He was abruptly shocked. This strike from Ling Han was too fast. He had just waved his sword, but in the next moment, it had appeared in front of him. He hurriedly waved his own sword to parry the incoming strike, and was sure that with the sharpness of the divine sword in his grasp, one strike would not only immediately sever the coal-stirring stick, Ling Han would also be sliced in two and become two halves. The wooden sword descended. Pa! A crisp sound rang out. Zhao Jinbai's divine sword was actually sliced into two halves, and the wooden sword fell with practically no deterrence. At this instant, a murderous aura surged out of the sword's blade. It rolled out like smoke in an extremely frightening manner. Even Zhao Jinbai couldn't help but shiver. He had killed people like scything flax all his life, fighting on the battlefield, and could claim that he was a butcher. However, in front of this murderous aura, he was completely a junior, and was no match at all. The wooden sword fell, and he was directly slashed in two, his spirit destroyed as well. What? A powerful heavenly body tier elite had actually been killed with a single slash like that. How was this believable? Meanwhile, the left minister felt his heart constrict strongly. With his insight, he naturally could tell very clearly that Ling Han's abilities had reached an extent that he could easily overwhelm Zhao Jinbai, and that was why he had been successful with only a single slash. Of course, the murderous aura of this seemingly ordinary wooden sword was actually brimming over, so Zhao Jinbai practically did not even counter in the end. It was merely icing on the cake. Even if Ling Han had used another weapon, he would also have succeeded, except for the fact that it would only be a slight bit more difficult. As it turned out, not only had Ling Han advanced into the heavenly body tier, he had even surpassed him. This would have to be the battle prowess of the high extreme, at the very least. Otherwise, how could he have possibly killed Zhao Jinbai with a single slash? Ling Han withdrew his sword, and saw that the very ordinary-looking wooden sword in his grasp was actually exuding a dark shadowy light. Even he felt a strong shudder when he saw this, as if this was not a very ordinary wooden sword, but rather a divine sword that had fought on the battlefield for countless years. He knew that this sword was not ordinary, but he had never thought that its murderous aura would be so exposed when it had touched blood. The veined patterns on the wooden sword had visibly become more distinct. The patterns were very simple, yet there was also an indescribable majesty about it. A sword of massacre, directly destroying the spirit. He would have to slowly study it in future. He put away the sword and turned to look at Zhao Luing. This proud prodigy was now completely dumbstruck. He had not regained his senses from the fact that Zhao Jinbai had died. He could not accept this. His father had battled for innumerable years, and yet was killed with a single slash from Ling Han. Only when he was focused on by Ling Han's icy eyes did he suddenly shudder violently and wake up from his shock. You actually killed my father," he said in a trembling voice. Suddenly, he turned towards the left minister. "Lord Left Minister, this person killed a great general of our majestic empire, which is no different from committing treason. I beseech you to execute the law of the empire, sir." "Fuck you." The left minister felt a muscle twitch violently in his cheek and almost cursed. Wasn't that throwing him into the fire pit as well? Chapter 1405. Beaten by whom? Chapter 1405. Beaten by whom? The left minister felt awkward. Zhao Luan's request was actually very logical. A great general of the empire had died, and as the left minister, and presently the highest commander, he could not possibly overlook this matter no matter what. But the problem now was that Ling Han was too strong. He had been able to kill Zhao Jianbai with a single slash, so killing him could also be very easily and happily done. The left minister loved power, but if he was asked to give up his life for the sake of power, he would only snort derisively. He was cursing internally. The matter had already continued for such a long time. Why had the right minister and the other 5 generals not appeared? It was definitely not because they had not yet reached their destination, but rather because they had long since arrived. Previously, they had watched the battle in secret, and now none of them dared to step out. I will pretend that I have not arrived, and know absolutely nothing. In future, no one would be able to say anything about my lack of action, they thought. But fuck, you guys have screwed me over. The left minister's lip twitched madly. This was also because the power of the chaotic star's majestic empire was too poor. Aside from the Empress and the 9 kings, there was actually no one else who had reached the medium extreme of the heavenly body tier. Now that the Empress and the 9 kings had gone into seclusion together, no one was capable of doing anything to Ling Han. This was also the weakness of relying on a single elite to bear the weight of an entire force. The moment this elite was absent, for example, if he had gone traveling or into seclusion, this force would become extremely fragile. Lord Left Minister, please take vengeance for my father. Zhao Luan knelt down, his eyes streaming with tears. His father had died, so he was definitely sorrowful. However, only he himself knew how much of his tears was genuine grief and how much of it was mere exaggeration. There were many people watching the excitement, but now, not one of them could speak. This was a battle on the level of the heavenly body tier, and they weren't even qualified to interrupt. Jing Wuxue and the others were rueful. In the past, Ling Han was still their little junior brother, but what about now? They were still at the consummate level of the mountain river tier. There was practically no change, but Ling Han was shockingly already in the heavenly body tier. They all were human beings, so why was there such a large difference between them? The left minister dragged out the last syllable. It was absolutely impossible that he would pick a fight with Ling Han, but a great general had died. This was also an earth-shattering matter, and could not be overlooked simply by playing dumb. Ling Han! A clear shout rang out, and a valiant and formidable woman appeared. She was dressed in battle armor, and had a crimson cloak draped over her shoulders. It was about 3 meters long, as if flew in the wind behind her, showing her heroic spirit on full display. Chu Qiuxue, the great commander of the Imperial Guards. When the left minister saw her, he immediately felt his heart settle. In terms of battle prowess, Chu Qiuxue actually surpassed himself because she bore the heavy responsibility of guarding the imperial palace. Not only could she draw on even more power of the nation, she could also invoke the great formation of the imperial palace to a certain extent. What right minister, what 5 great generals, they were not as dependable as this woman. Lady Chu. Ling Han greeted with clasped hands. He was still filled with considerable respect for Chu Qiuxue. Chu Qiuxue's face was cold as she said, "You are now already in the heavenly body tier, and are on equal level with me. I dare not accept the respectful address of lady. Let me ask you, have you come to our empire to show off your strength?" Ling Han shook his head and replied, "I have no intention to bluster around. At first, I wanted to seek an audience with Her Majesty, but as the Empress has gone into isolation, I decided to stay a while here. I did not think that so many things would happen afterwards." Chu Qiushua's expression cleared slightly, and she said, "You have killed a great general of our empire. There are too many implications involved in this matter, and it cannot possibly be finished like this. When Her Majesty comes out of isolation, there will definitely be a resolution." "All right." Ling Han nodded. What relation did he have with the Empress? In the past, for the sake of the 9 kings, she did not hesitate to kill a great general, and now, for her beloved, What would killing another matter? Furthermore, it was Ling Han who had personally killed him. And if it came down to it, it was Zhao Jianbai who provoked him and delivered himself straight to be killed. Zhao Luan's eyes were malicious. He knew it was no longer possible to use someone else to kill Ling Han. The left minister did not dare move at all, and Chu Qiushue was unwilling to move either. He stepped back quietly. He had long since become enemies with Ling Han, and now Ling Han would definitely call him for an accounting. If he didn't run, wouldn't that simply be waiting for death? What are you running for? However, he had just taken a step when he heard Ling Han's calm voice ring out by his ear. Next, he was gripped by an invisible hand and picked up. Ling Han. Chu Qiushue glared angrily. You have already killed a great general of the empire. Do you still intend to commit murder? As the great commander of the Imperial Guards, she could not pretend that she had not seen this. Pong! A loud sound rang out, and the heavenly phoenix divine maiden was seen to have been struck down. Meanwhile, Sha Jing was standing proudly in midair. After all, his cultivation level was much higher, and he also had the additional boost from power of the nation, so he naturally had the upper hand in this clash. Ling! Sha Jing was just about to begin shouting when he spotted Zhao Jianbai's body that had already been hacked into two halves, much to his shock. Fuck! He naturally would not think that this had been done by the left minister or Chu Qiushue. Putting aside the fact that neither of them had this kind of courage, they did not have the abilities to do so either. There was only one person, Ling Han. Hiss, this young man was actually powerful to this extent? Sha Jing could not see through to Ling Han's cultivation level, but he had thought that Ling Han had deliberately concealed his cultivation level all this while. They were all in the low extreme, so this was naturally easily done. But now, from the look of things, he had guessed wrongly. He could not distinguish his cultivation level, because Ling Han's cultivation level was above his own. Thus, the other had easily killed Zhao Jianbai so quickly and with so little commotion that even he had not noticed. That was because the pressure the heavenly phoenix divine maiden had exerted on him was also very heavy, so how could he possibly dare divide his attention? He trembled and shrank back. It was one matter to fight on the battlefield. He had killed millions because he knew that his abilities had definitely reached the summit, and there was definitely no one capable of killing him, and not because he was unafraid of dying and was a born homicidal maniac. In the face of the pressure of death, he sweated madly, and his whole back was completely wet in an instant. The hatred of killing his son? He was not Zhao Jianbai. He had quite a number of sons, and Sha Yuan was only one of them. Moreover, he was not the most outstanding one, either. Now that he was dead, then he was dead. Are you all right? Ling Han turned to look at the heavenly phoenix divine maiden. The heavenly phoenix divine maiden shot upwards. There were traces of blood on her body and at the corner of her lips, but her vitality had not been reduced. She looked a little aggrieved and slightly stubborn as she said, I lost? Ling Han shook his head and replied, How could you have lost? You must have remembered wrongly. He looked at Sha Jing, stretched out his other hand. His hand covered the skies and pressed down on Sha Jing. So what if you're in the heavenly body tier? That is how overbearing I can be. Chu Qiushue's fingers trembled slightly, and she had the urge to move. But when she saw this palm of Ling Han did not have the slightest bit of killing intent, she forcibly repressed the impulse. How could Sha Jing defend against this all on his own? The massive hand pressed down, and he was directly pressed onto the ground. Pong, 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 pong. Innumerable shock waves of origin power later, Sha Jing was immediately blasted to beyond recognition and made for a tragic sight. Ling Han withdrew his hand with a smile and said, Look, wife, isn't he more seriously wounded than you? It naturally is your victory. This, in broad daylight, you were practically lying through your teeth. As it happened, Ling Han was not going to give up the matter here. He turned to Sha Jing and asked, Brother Sha, whom were you beaten by? His eyes narrowed in a glare, the ferocity in them on full display. At this moment, his killing intent soared, and looked completely like he would be committing violence at the slightest disagreement. Sha Jing was incredibly aggrieved, his hands tightly gripped into fists. Using the quietest voice, he replied, "I was beaten by her." Chapter 1406, Screwing Over the Minister Again. Chapter 1406, Screwing Over the Minister Again. "See, wife, even he himself admits that you are the culprit." Ling Han turned to look at the heavenly phoenix divine maiden again, all his killing intent evaporating into nothing. This deliberate misrepresentation, debauchery, and purposefully distorting the truth. What justice was there left in the world? Everyone wore strange expressions. When had a great elite of the heavenly body tier fallen to this level that he did not even dare to point out the person who had injured him? Ling Han was really too overbearing. But even more women's eyes shone brightly. This was a supremely good man, so considerate and protective that even they wanted to marry him. The heavenly phoenix divine maiden involuntarily laughed and was also a bit embarrassed. She slapped Ling Han's back lightly, but she was also filled with happiness. In the eyes of others, Ling Han was deliberately distorting the truth, overbearing and unreasonable, but in her eyes, this was the very gentlest and very most considerate action. "Brother Xia, go ahead and get treatment for your injuries." Ling Han shook his hand casually, and Xia Jing was instantly sent flying. Though he had killed Xia Yuan, he did not bear a grudge against Xia Jing. As long as he did not act forceful and imperious, he was not the type to involve others in a personal grudge, either. Furthermore, Chu Qiushue was already here, so no matter what, he still had to give her some face. Xia Jing did not dare utter a word, and simply turned and left. At this instant, he was no great general. He lowered his head, and even his figure seemed to be slightly smaller than usual. Zhao Luan was almost scared out of his wits. Even the great General Xia had been beaten like a dog, and he did not even dare utter a word of disagreement. Moreover, the great Commander Chu also did not say a word, either, tacitly approving of Ling Han's actions. He did not want to die. He wanted to get his vengeance. Could he allow himself to die in this place? "Zhao Luan, I have never minded competition, but you have repeatedly expressed killing intent towards me and sent people to kill me. Furthermore, on the basis that your cultivation level had been higher than mine, you had also personally moved against me as well," Ling Han said calmly. "Now, my cultivation level is higher than yours, so I shall also act the bully this once. If you can block 3 moves from me, I will spare your life." 3 moves, your sister. Zhao Luan was already cursing in his heart. Even his old man couldn't block a single strike from Ling Han, and he actually wanted him to block 3 moves. How was this any means of giving him a way out? "That's right. I have absolutely no plans of allowing you to live," Ling Han said. His hand tightened into a fist, and Zhao Luan was kneaded into pieces. The blood and flesh of the Sun Moon tier contained very strong power, but because it was confined by Ling Han's hand, not the slightest bit of a shock wave was emitted. Zhao Luan's form and spirit had been destroyed. Chengyun's face had turned white, then turned green, and then became dark as if he was a chameleon. Now, every one of them had been called to an accounting by Ling Han, so how could he possibly be spared? Most importantly, all this had been started by him in the first place. If only he had not wanted that damned private room in the first place. Who could have imagined that the death of a heavenly body tier elite would occur, and another had been forced to flee like a rat? And the starting fuse of all this was because 2 minor characters of the Mountain River tier had forcibly wanted to snatch a private room. It was possible that no one would believe this theory. It was too nonsensical. "Lord Left Minister, save me! Save me!" Chengyun no longer cared that his leg had broken, and forcibly used origin power to solidify his bones. He scrambled to the left minister and knelt down with a loud bang, repeatedly kowtowing. Though the left minister had witnessed the death of a heavenly body tier elite, he did not know what part Chengyun had played in this matter. He was baffled. In his mind, how could a mere mountain river tier have the capability of offending a heavenly body tier elite? He waved him off and said, "Get up first. What is going on here?" This was his dog, after all. In front of outsiders, he still had the obligation to shield him a bit. How could Chengyun possibly dare to get up? He merely continued to kowtow and begged, "My lord, save me! My lord, save me!" The left minister laughed and thought that Chengyun had been scared dumb by the killing of a heavenly body tier elite. He stretched out a hand and clapped Chengyun's shoulder and said, "Don't be nervous. I am here, so there is no need for you to worry." Ling Han also smiled and said, "The left minister is truly one to empathize with his subordinates." How could the left minister know that all this had been started by Chengyun? He did not dare believe that either, and thought that Ling Han was really complimenting him. Involuntarily, the smile on his face grew wider. If this had been the past, and Ling Han had dared say this to him, he not only would not have been pleased, he would have flown into a rage. "Just who did you think you were? You actually dared to praise me. Did you think you were my superior?" But now, Ling Han had proved his superiority with his strength, and the left minister suddenly felt overwhelmed. If the same words, even if it was a compliment, were spoken from the mouths of different people, the effects were absolutely different. "Ho ho, I should. It is my duty." The left minister's smile widened, and he appeared to be very pleased. Ling Han also smiled, and then slowly said, "Brother Xiang is also astonishingly courageous. Previously, my brothers and I were dining in the restaurant, and Brother Xiang insisted that we should move so that we could allow him to have the private room. Then, afterwards, he even wanted my wife to share a drink with him." "Pooh!" The left minister immediately spluttered. Even his face had turned green. "I asterisk your sister." He looked at Chengyun, and Chengyun shivered as if he was ill. "You are really quite bold. You demanded that a great elite of the heavenly body tier let you have his private room, and asked another great elite of the heavenly body tier to drink with you. Just who do you think you are? Fuck, I was already screwed over by Zhao Luan once just now, and now you also want to screw me over. What enmity and animosity do you have against me?" The left minister was furious, and suddenly started to thrash Chengyun heavily. What, empathizing with subordinates? To hell with empathizing. He was about to kill himself because of him, and there was still talk of empathizing? Why didn't no one empathize with him then? The speed at which he suddenly turned hostile was really unexpected. Those nearby were all watching dumbfounded as the left minister, who was in humiliated rage, thrashed his own lackey with completely no care for his own image. It was practically enough to shatter their outlook on life. Is this really the left minister? "Spare me, my lord. Spare me, my lord." Chengyun howled terribly. He had not thought that Ling Han had not even made a move, and it would be the left minister who would first take his life. But the left minister had committed a grave error, so he naturally had to draw a clear distinguishing line between himself and Chengyun now. Otherwise, if Ling Han misunderstood that he was trying to cover up for Chengyun, it would be terrible. Chengyun's voice became softer and softer, and finally there was no longer any sign of life from him. He had been beaten to death. He had died aggrieved. His success was because of the left minister, and his death was also because of the left minister. The reason why he could be a well-regarded and grand personage was because he had gained the backing of the left minister, but it was also because he had this backing that he was absolutely unrestrained and extremely ambitious. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone so far as to trifle with Ling Han. As a result, the left minister moved personally and beat him to death. No matter how popular a lapdog was, he was still only a lapdog. When everyone looked at Ling Han, their eyes were filled with respect. This kind of elite was already superior to the right and left ministers and the 7 generals. Just look at how even the Lord Left Minister was scared to this extent. If the 9 kings did not move, who would be capable of suppressing Ling Han? Because the gap in their cultivation levels was too large, even when Ling Han had asked Lin Yu and the others to stay behind and chatted with them for a while, all of them were incredibly reserved and couldn't even speak clearly. Ling Han did not compel them, either. After giving them some alchemical pills, he allowed them to leave. Ling Han had the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Maiden and the others first stay in an inn, whereas he himself would head to the Scarlet Heaven Academy. With Ling Han's current abilities, there was no one capable of stopping him from in this place. They weren't qualified to discover his presence, and very soon, he arrived at the library. Old Man Su was just like how he had been, seated with his eyes closed in rest. Chapter 1407, Old Man Su's Story. Chapter 1407, Old Man Su's Story. In the past, Ling Han could not tell what part of Old Man Su was strong, but this time, Ling Han realized that Old Man Su was definitely in the heavenly body tier. In fact, he was in the high extreme, or at the consummate level, because he could not distinguish his cultivation level at all. Yet, it seemed that the old geezer's cultivation level had been sealed, and he exuded an unusual sense of weakness. "Senior," Ling Han spoke up. "You came back?" Old Man Su did not open his eyes, just as if he did not have much energy. "I have already heard. You killed Zhao Jinbai with a single strike, so your battle prowess should have advanced into the high extreme of the heavenly body tier." Ling Han smiled and answered, "I went to the Long Light Galaxy and stayed there for over a dozen years. Since you have also advanced into the heavenly body tier, there is no need for you to address me as senior anymore. Moreover, this old man is also not that old," Old Man Su said. He obviously said that he wasn't very old, yet still called himself an old man. Ling Han shook his head and said, "In my heart, senior will always be senior." Old Man Su involuntarily laughed and finally opened his eyes. He nodded and said, "You are not bad. I did not misjudge you. Finally, I have not made a mistake in judgment." Ling Han couldn't help but ask, "Senior has misjudged others before?" "Ho ho, that is natural. I have been here for tens of thousands of years and have guided a considerable number of juniors as well. However, all of them forgot their debt of gratitude. They achieved much in their cultivation, yet not one of them returned to visit me." Old Man Su sighed. Ling Han smiled and said, "Senior might not have to wait any further in future." He took out the highest jade essence heart. The highest jade essence heart. Old Man Su suddenly jumped up. It was very hard to imagine that a sickly old geezer that seemed like he would be dying any second would suddenly leap 3 feet into the air. Even Ling Han was a little stunned. Old Man Su briskly grabbed the highest jade essence heart, and at that moment, the aura he exuded was definitely saying that he would kill anyone that got in his way. "Brat, you wait here for one night. I have some words to say to you." Leaving behind these words, Old Man Su entered into the library. The strange thing was that he actually opened a secret door and entered into the basement. Ling Han did not follow him. He had already told him to wait here, after all. Though he was very curious, and though Old Man Su's cultivation level had been sealed, so he was definitely no match for him, Ling Han still not move at all. How could he be rude to his benefactor? The night passed, and Old Man Su reappeared. His face wore an expression of great tiredness, but there was even more elation in his expression. He showed a kind of joy and happiness that came directly from the heart. "Come sit." Old Man Su brought Ling Han into the library and pulled out a chair for him. "My name is Su Ran." Old Man Su revealed his identity. Su Ran? The first prodigy to come through opening the sky 300,000 years ago? The freak that had used a mere few thousand years to reach the consummate level of the sun-moon tier? That was not right. At the time, Su Ran could have come by opening the sky, so he should have already been in the shattering void tier by then. Now, he was in the consummate level of the heavenly body tier, so his lifespan should have reached 40 million years. Going by that calculation, Su Ran should have been in the prime of his youth, and would continue to be in his prime for at least another 20 million years. Why would he now look so old as if he was about to die at any moment? No wonder he had previously said that he was not old. He was only over 300,000 years old, and compared to Zhao Jinbai, the left minister, and the others, he was so very much younger. Ho ho, when I entered into the consummate level of the sun-moon tier, I left the joint peace planet and traveled everywhere to improve, Su Ran continued. However, at the time, I did not have a cultivation technique for the heavenly body tier and continued to stagnate at that level. It was only after 30,000 years that I obtained a divine cultivation technique in an ancient site, and that is the universal 8 desolation technique that I taught to you. With its help, I broke through to the heavenly body tier. After that, my path was very smooth and easy, and I obtained a great many fated opportunities. I merely used over 12,000 years to reach the consummate level of the heavenly body tier. Then, I met the true love of my life. A gentleness shone in the old man's eyes as he sank into his memories. After a long while, he said, "We stayed together and journeyed the world, as happy as if we were deities. However, because of my insistence, we entered into a dangerous ancient site, and the result was she fell prey to a curse, and no cure was effective. I used my own life force to extend her life for her, and looked everywhere for a way to save her. After 10,000 years, I finally found out that only the highest jade essence heart could dispel the curse on her. However, at that time, I had also weakened extremely and could no longer extend her life for her. I have long heard that in the treasure trove of the imperial palace of the chaotic star's majestic empire, there is a treasure called the Nine Hells Ice Coffin. If a corpse is placed within, it would not deteriorate eternally, and if a living person was placed within, he would be able to freeze his body. No matter how heavily ill he was, his vitality could still be frozen. Thus, I returned to the Joint Peace Planet and planned to steal this treasure. The result was that I was apprehended by the Empress. However, when the Empress knew of my encounter, she actually lent the Nine Hells Ice Coffin to me. But she also locked my cultivation level and forbade me from leaving. Hence, I could only ask for help from the people here, hoping that they would bring me the highest jade essence heart one day. He talked for a very long time and finally stopped. Realization dawned on Ling Han. No wonder Su Ran, who should have been in his prime, had now aged prematurely, and it was also no wonder that such an elite would be detained here. That was because he couldn't possibly leave. This was indeed very much like what Empress Luanxing would do, proud but at the same time, sympathetic. She did not kill Su Ran and his woman. Instead, she lent him the Nine Hells Ice Coffin and gave Su Ran a sliver of hope. However, he had broken into her imperial palace, and he still wanted to leave as if nothing had happened. Of course she would not let that happen. Hence, the Empress detained Su Ran here. If you wanted to save your own woman, you'd have to think of some other way. Ling Han thought for a moment, and then asked, "Has recovered?" "Her vitality has been greatly damaged, but after a little more time spent on nursing, she would definitely return to her previous condition," Su Ran answered, smiling. At present, he was in a very good mood. Ling Han nodded and said, "When the Empress comes out of isolation, I will persuade her to release the seal on you. Furthermore, you would not need the Nine Hells Ice Coffin any further by now, so you can return it to its owner." Su Ran was naturally elated, but he immediately shook his head and said, "That Empress, Ho-Ho, is not one who would easily be persuaded. It is best that you don't go, or it would be extremely possible that you would have your cultivation level sealed like me. Who knows, you may be tossed off to become a shepherd even." Ling Han only smiled and did not say anything more. Hee, if Su Ran saw him holding the hand of the Empress and walked towards him one day. No, if he saw his arm around her waist, would Su Ran's outlook on life completely crumble to nothing? He was very expectant. He talked with Su Ran for a while. This prodigy of the previous generation was also considerably interested in the Star Sand Martial Arts Academy. If his seal was released by that time, he would set out with Ling Han as well. Ling Han still left the imperial capital. At present, his abilities were too strong. No one would be able to rest easy if he stayed in the imperial capital. Thus, their group set out and headed towards the Great Ling Empire. A nation could not go one day without its monarch, and he, the ruler, had finally returned. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.